If all beings considered, this week.
I don't know if I'm digging this music. This is way too...
Is it too emotional and too serious? Well, you wanted like sparse piano.
Yeah, but like I wanted like either Severance sparse or like, what's the other one? The Serial podcast sparse. This is
Okay,
not...
how about this one? Listen to this one.
This is not catchy at all. No, this is too nature show.
But wait a second. Wait for the lyrics to kick in. You're going to love it.
Oh, God. I don't want to have to wait for it to kick in.
All beings gathered
No. No.
Beings gathered in.
Gag me. This is horrible.
Whisper truth.
This is really... No.
Well, all right, fine.
No. People
You
in the
don't like
chat...
You don't like the
No.
don't like the music, the intro music. I'm trying. It's I'm going through a few iterations.
Yeah.
It's not perfect every time. But yeah, that's what I came up with so far. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan yet either, but I thought it'd be fun to let you see the new, how far we are with intro music.
Okay. Well, good to
for
know.
our new podcast. Yeah.
Let's get to it, because now the people are asleep or, turned off away from whatever based on that intro music. No offense. But anyway, so I'm just going to jump right into this.
Let's go.
This is a new study that was just released this morning that I found really interesting.
Yes.
They found basically that they looked at the seropositivity of dairy cows and beef cows too, 1,724 samples, and they found 33.99% were seropositive for influenza A viruses. Now it's important, and they didn't find any seropositive for H5N1, but they did find that they had human seasonal flu viruses, H1N1, H3N2, swine influenza viruses.
The cows had human. Oh, hold on a second.
Yeah.
The cows had human flu?
They had antibodies to human flu and swine flus in there.
Wow. I did not. Did that surprise you at all?
I mean, not really, honestly, but it surprised these researchers. I had heard from dairy vets in the past that they're like, oh yeah, dairy cows get influenza viruses all the time. And I'm like, this was, just conversations that came up after the H5N1 thing. And I'm like, it wasn't on my radar. And I guess it wasn't on these researchers' radars either, because they were kind of surprised by these findings, it seemed, by what they wrote. And you might be like wondering, why weren't there any H5N1 antibodies? Well, the majority of these samples came from Missouri, and Missouri doesn't have any H5N1 positive herds there. So,
okay.
But it kind of points out, like, we need to just be looking for these viruses in dairy cows a little bit more. And I wonder, like, can these dairy cows transmit the human seasonal flu back?
That's what I was going to ask you. That was my next question.
Yeah.
Are people getting the flu from cows? That would make so much sense to me. Why every year? Wouldn't that make sense why we just can't beat the flu? Like, we have freaking vaccines every year, new vaccines every year for the flu. And somehow we just can't lick it. That makes no sense to me.
It'd be interesting to just look at where do flu outbreaks start? And maybe somebody has been looking at this. Is it more in these
But we know where it starts, right?
Areas.
Well, I don't know if we know that, but I do know where the flu starts. It starts in Asia every year, and that's how the WHO gets together and sees what kind of flu viruses are swirling around. But these are people in rural areas that have more interaction with animals, like anecdotally, right? I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. People who are around animals more get the flu more.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't. I don't want
Have
to be a vet. I'm
has
turning
that
into
been
John
studied
Cullen.
recently? Like, I feel like there's so many interesting things we could be looking at, but instead, like, all of our researchers are stuck in the labs, like, testing mice for various things, like
Oh,
doing
that's true
knockout
too,
mice
isn't it,
studies.
Crystal? Okay, but what I do know, because especially now, I've looked at WHO a bunch of times, but WHO every year puts out their data about where the flu, where the different types of flu strains that they're finding every year, and that's through communication and with all the doctors around the world. They get together with and create a new vaccine. That's the flu shot that everyone knows, right? That's so they do track this stuff, but no one has ever, it's never even crossed my mind that like cows are giving the human flu, that they're like storing it for us. They're like like we're like a bank account for viruses, and we had to make a withdrawal every year in the winter.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to look at this more because we know that the influenza viruses concentrate in high concentrations in the milk.
Yeah.
And we know the milking parlors, you have aerosolized milk that gets into the eyes and the nose of the workers. Like,
And
is
in the
this
countries where we are
spreading?
finding the flus originate every year, those are countries that aren't homogenizing and pasteurizing their milk. They're drinking more raw milk. Like, holy
Are they?
crap.
Is in China they're drinking more raw milk? I don't know
100%,
that.
because of these rural communities where they don't have they're not, you have to imagine they've got like a few cows in their villages, and they're milking the cows, and they're it's like the olden days of America, some of these places. But like,
Mhm.
these are the places where we're kind of seeing these outbreaks, right? In the beginning, they're not like
Yeah.
breaking out in, like, I don't know, Shanghai. They're not like, I'm not talking about like modernized cities, but in these rural villages, we all know what that looks like.
Mhm.
you know
Yeah, it's interesting, like, you look at this graph, it's like it's year round, it looks like. The red is positive here. Um, seems
Po-
to hit really big in November. We always get our flu
yeah.
vaccines in October
Yep.
usually.
Yep. hmm
So that's just
these are
interesting.
just American cows. So
Yeah.
we get in October because in other parts of the world they're getting hit earlier. They basically are our canaries in the coal mine, so that we're able to develop. We get the seasonal flu later.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
know much about the flu, honestly, other than I've just started looking at this during
mm,
this avian influenza outbreak. I mean, this study needs to be done in California, dairy cows. We
for
need to
sure.
know that. And I hope this is a study that's done on a regular basis. And we look at this and we look at the workers too. And if we do some, if we like subtype these, genotype these, sequence these viruses,
Mm.
can we determine how this is being spread?
So what did they have, Crystal? They had I mean, I'm sorry, you blew my mind about the human influenza, the just regular old flu. What were the other ones that they found? They found bird flu, swine flu, and what else?
No, they didn't actually find any bird flu. It
Oh,
was
no
most
bird flu. Right.
human flu, human seasonal flu, and the swine flu. So,
Crazy.
yeah,
What an
which is
interesting
just
chart that is. Like, I don't even know how to look at a graph like that. What am I looking at here?
so figure 4, this is a Venn diagram of the positive cow serum samples against human and swine influenzas.
Yeah.
So you have like what they tested positive for. And then some of them tested positive for multiple ones, I guess.
Oh.
Um,
Oh, so one,
and
I see. So one came, I get it. No. Hmm.
yeah, I'm just scrolling down. This is, yeah, just super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope we can get more about this and they don't stop looking at it.
So which researchers did this? Was this what
Who
was the
was this?
organization? Was it the CDC?
Acknowledgements. This is A conflict of interest was identified after acceptance of the paper. The editor-in-chief provided a final review. What's the final review? Oh no. The study was supported by the Centers of Excellence in Influenza Research and Response, funded by NAIAID contract number, the USDA National Institute of Food and Agriculture Animal Health Project. So
Okay.
there you go. But also very interesting that
Cows
they
with
would
the flu.
look at mostly cows in Missouri where there were no H5N1 positive herds. So that's disappointing that we didn't get more samples from herds where there was H5N1.
Yeah, like Texas would be a good place to start. That's down there. I mean, Texas is big dairy state. When we went to the talk in VMX, that was a Texas dairy cattleman talking to us about how
And I wonder
easily.
if it's like they just don't want to, if they are not willing to test, just like moving on to this article dives into how bird flu devastated this one farm.
Yeah, hold on one second because I actually queued up the video for that one,
Okay.
and I found it on YouTube. They actually NBC put the video on that one too. So I thought we could just, since I got that YouTube Premium and I found it, here it is.
It happened fast.
We lost 30 birds, and
30 birds at once.
30 birds at once.
30 dirty birds they lost at once, Crystal. Like, what I love about this article was that it's all about how they wanted to do it the right way. And how often do we hear that, right? That what if they have the birds the right way?
Yeah.
They keep them and these people, they've done it the quote unquote right way.
At first, Marty and Mary Kate Thomas blamed the January cold.
And then the next morning we walked into the coops and there were hundreds dead.
America's bird flu outbreak had hit their flock of 3,000.
By the time
that would freak you out though, right? Like, have you ever, you've been a vet for a long time. Have you ever walked into a place and found a bunch of dead animals you didn't expect to be there?
No, that hasn't been my experience. It's got to be awful though. Like,
it's got to be horrible, right? Like something catastrophic has just happened.
Yeah.
When you hear those stories about people like leaving like a short circuit and they all burn to death, or they all freeze to death. That's got to be shocking. Oh my God.
I know. And this article was really illuminating because there's this quote from this article. Just days before their chickens started to die, another farmer had warned the Thomases that bird flu was spreading in southern Illinois. But he said some farmers never reported it because they didn't want the USDA to come in and shut down and quarantine their operations.
That's what I expect to happen. That's what I thought the indemnity payments were for,
When the USDA got here, there was only 500 that were alive.
After euthanizing the remaining chickens, the USDA placed the farm's coops under quarantine until June, costing Cockadoodle an estimated $100,000 in revenue.
Oh, this is considered the hot zone.
And it turns out that was just the first blow.
First it was chickens, and then, the funding freeze.
Back in October, the state of Illinois notified the Thomases they'd been awarded a $220,000 Resilient Food Systems Infrastructure, or RFSI, grant to transform a barn into a distribution center for online orders, pending USDA approval. The couple fronted $80,000 of their own money, pouring concrete floors and adding insulation. This month, the Trump administration cut RFSI's funding, meaning Cockadoodle likely won't be reimbursed.
Ooh, that was kind of another just one more blow. I gotta say though, like, someone should have warned these guys that they were in the wrong business. In the article, they said like, "Oh, we just started out with 4 chickens and fed our kids with these chickens' eggs, and before we knew it, we had more eggs than we could handle. We were just selling them to our neighbors." I don't buy it. I don't believe the story.
Yeah, I mean, you make an effort to like decide to do 3,000 chickens, but society tells everybody, oh, all these factory farms are so bad, and
Mhm.
there's a right way to do it, and here these people have resources. I think he's a dentist or something. I
Yeah,
don't
something
know.
like that. Yeah, he's a
And
medical professional. Yeah.
yeah, he has like the resources to like, oh, I'm going to try to do things the right way. Not, and there's not enough voices in society saying like there's no good way to
They also
exploit
romanticize
animals.
it, don't they? Like you're gonna wake
Yeah.
up on the farm like some yeoman farmer of old, and you're gonna just, oh, I've got $80,000 sitting around. Sure, why not? Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Stress
I'm gonna
about
I'm gonna I'm gonna wake up early in the morning and feed the chickens, and yeah, I'm gonna treat them like family too.
the farm's future weighing on staff.
I'm worried about Cockadoodle. I'm worried about my job. I'm worried about my livelihood, my home. I'm worried about it all.
Is it keeping you up at night?
Yeah.
The USDA telling NBC News they are committed to exploring additional ways to aid flock owners and minimize their financial burdens from bird flu, noting they announced the expansion of biosecurity assessment and audits. The agency
Have we figured out what they mean by this biosecurity assessment? Does this look at this aerial shot? Does it look like we're gonna
Yeah. How are you going to biosecure that?
I don't understand what that. You saw that even the ones that they had quarantined with the plastic on it, and the camera just went underneath, and you could see these are just. There's no way to
And
biosecure these.
we don't want to raise animals in airtight
Uh-uh.
containers either.
Uh-uh.
Like there's just no good way to go. Either like you romanticize this like open where they're natural and
Mhm.
living in pasture, which is a completely not biosecure thing,
Right.
or you keep them in these airtight, unnatural buildings where they can't see sunlight, which is also just
It's
unnatural
true. Isn't
and
that
is
funny, Crystal? Like they've made so much. They've lied to people about how chickens are in the green pastures and stuff like this, and made it look like that's how they're raised, even though we know that's not how it is. That now they're going to have to switch and say, actually, we raise our chickens in these super sanitary, weirdly
yeah,
like Severance style
Severance.
white halls. Yes, exactly. It's completely sanitized.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Welcome to the
RFK
dystopian
Jr.'s.
future. Like, I mean, it's 2025. Why are we still producing our protein this way? This is crazy. We need to move away from it. But anyway,
And it's
hope
crazy. People are still willing to pay for it. I can't believe you hear a story like this. Like this is NBC News, and people hear this and go, yeah, that's a shame what happened to that family-run farm, but I'm gonna go buy $12 worth of eggs today. I was at a Ralph's yesterday in Southern California, and it was $12 for eggs. I just gave a little look-see just to see.
yeah, I always look and like,
Yeah,
who are
I used
these
to.
people? There are people with eggs in their carts still. It's wild to me.
Wild.
Why would you buy eggs? Like, how?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I gotta have. I don't know. Maybe we gotta talk to people like in the grocery store, just casual conversation. Hey, have you thought like?
I had this idea. I want to watch the rest of this, but I had this idea that I wanted to
Okay.
run by you. Can remind me, because I had this idea just to that. Hold on. Can we watch the
Okay.
rest of this though? It's only like 30
Yeah,
more
totally.
seconds.
agency not responding to our questions about the RFSI cuts.
There are a lot of farmers that we're counting on these programs for funding because
Yeah.
historically that's how
They got dozed.
farming has been, with subsidies and such. It totally sucks.
Did you hear the cat meow?
Uh-huh.
That
I
was a
wonder how the
cat
kitties are
meowing.
doing.
That cat's got bird flu.
But what do we do?
They hope Cockadoodle can resume producing eggs by August.
Nope.
Maggie Vespa, NBC News, Madison, Illinois.
Madison, Illinois. The bridges of Madison, Illinois. All right, so I got this idea. You know that sign of the incredible edible egg? And it's
Mhm.
just and you showed it to me. You showed me that picture that you took I don't know, where was that taken about the incredible edible egg that was
At
blocking?
pavilions, like,
Mm.
covering the just egg, yeah.
Yeah, like there's no eggs and everything is gone, and the only thing that's there is just eggs, but the incredible edible egg stuck their apology kind of thing over where you could, so that the person outside can't even see the just egg. It's so criminal. It's just criminal activity. But I thought, what if I made just an identical thing with the incredible edible egg logo, and it said, it's time to try a tofu scramble. And I just stuck that on the refrigerator at the Ralph's. I just got those printed and stuck that like I'm an official representative of the
Yeah,
egg board.
like, maybe the stores wouldn't notice, wouldn't catch it
They
and
would
take it
never
down.
notice. They would not
Yeah.
notice. You tell me. They wouldn't notice until the
I
egg board
think
guy comes
tofu
around.
scrambles kind of that's tough, and I don't know. I've never made a tofu scramble, honestly. Like, that's not my thing. I think, like,
Super easy to do. When we're in New York, we'll
smoothies
make one.
what do you add to your tofu scramble?
Whatever you want. What do you like?
How do you make it? I don't know. Like, so you just do tofu and, like, how do you make it
Tofu.
taste good to
Well,
non-vegans who, like, some of us raw dog tofu, like,
some
just
do. I don't
but
raw dog tofu. I'm not that crazy. Although my friend Ryan, who's going to be at AVA Summit, you know him. He's the guy
yeah,
from ASAP. I forget his last name, but Ryan.
Ryan
Um,
Bloom.
Ryan Bloom. Right.
Yeah.
Ryan Bloom notoriously just eats with a spoon, tofu with a
Yeah.
spoon. Chip, of course, says that Chip guy says tofu scrambles raw. Okay, so there's this type of pepper that you could put, or salt or whatever, that has a little sulfur in it that can make it
Mhm.
taste more like eggs, but it's actually completely naturally occurring. They're not like adding, I forget what it's called, but you can buy it at the Asian food restaurants, not restaurant, but like an Asian market, you can buy it. And they're opening one right down the block from me, so I can't wait to see if they sell it there, because I'm trying not to buy stuff on Amazon, on any place like online anymore. Anyway, so you could do that, but honestly, traditionally, old school vegan, I just put a little turmeric in it because it makes it the right color. It looks like
Mhm.
eggs. I put some salt and some garlic. It's a little bit of pepper, just like you would normal eggs. And then I add like green pepper or spinach, like wilted spinach that I would normally add to like a scramble or a what do you call those things? It's called like a farmer scramble, right? Where you put like
Mhm.
maybe some potatoes that you can roast up inside there. But that's not necessary. You can get as fancy as you want or as cheap and down dirty as you like. But usually I throw a vegetable in there, some salt and pepper, some garlic, maybe a little paprika for that smoky taste, a little turmeric for color, and because it's supposed to be good for my joints. And I got myself a tofu scramble. I mean,
Nice.
yeah, let's see what nooch. Someone's saying nooch. Onion powder's a good one. There you go. Lake Huron says black salt Kala Namak. So I have some black salt in my in my uh in my cupboard, my pantry. Kala Namak. That that stuff. It tastes a little bit of it's like a sulfury peppery flavor that's in the salt that makes your tofu kind of taste like eggs.
Well, now we know, and maybe
And
yeah,
no
we
one missed
gotta.
out the battle.
Why aren't we like? I haven't seen any vegan propaganda out there pushing people like to switch away from eggs.
All I've seen is the one that we did with Our Honor, the one that we
Yeah,
put out. Like,
it's wild.
try beans. They've got more tofu. Beans for breakfast. It works for the English. Maybe that's, you know what? The English eat toasts and baked beans for breakfast. That's
Mhm.
smart. That's a high protein breakfast.
High fiber is
Yes.
yeah good for breakfast. So
It's never caught on here, and it's not something that when I lived in England, I didn't like it very much,
mm.
but
I mean,
now
I
I'm
love a
thinking,
good like burrito for breakfast. So like even just not even a breakfast burrito, just like
yeah.
bean guacamole burrito for breakfast. That's
Anything,
great.
yeah. I mean, you had me at guac. I'm kind of
Yeah.
but I, yes, I love. I try to buy local avocados because of the bees thing that everyone
Yeah.
complains about. But but I have a farmer's market every Saturday, and they sell cheap avocado. It's cheaper at the farmer's market, a local avocado, and my neighbor has an avocado tree. So just before anyone jumps down my throat about that, but
Oh,
you seem like, not to racially profile you, but you seem like someone who might like an avocado toast.
yeah. Oh, of course. That's white girl staple right there. Although I don't do bread usually. That's the thing.
Got
So
it.
I bread is like a treat. Really stay away from gluten usually. So
Yeah. Well, what do you think? I'm the opposite. I'm a bread freak. I think that gluten's wonderful. Hey, so what do you think about my idea? The egg, it's a guerrilla marketing, but it's also like very low key, but it'll be the incredible edible egg. Sorry about the bird flu. Try a tofu scramble.
I love it. I think more people should do that.
I
And
think I'm gonna do it. I gotta print it out,
yeah,
and I'm gonna just bring some
that's
tape
great.
so that I'm not damaging anything. Just bring some tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Maybe at the Trader
Laminate it
Joe's.
like the incredible edible egg is laminated. Yeah.
Yeah, I should.
There's such a missed opportunity that we're not doing more
Brought to you by the
encouraging
Egg
of
Board.
people switching.
Mhm.
So let's move on to the next story here.
Before we do, we have a
oh,
question. Should we explain the background? I like this right
what
here, the all-seeing eye of Cargill.
it, if you don't get it, you don't get it. Like, I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like leave it for the people to comment, and if you know, you know.
If you know,
And
you know.
I hope to keep adding to this background as I uncover new things.
Yeah, it's like a Charlie Day conspiracy theory thing going on in the background.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What's the next story?
All right. Next story is let me see here. So I think this is the CBS story that came up here with a video. Let's see, this is somewhat annoying here.
Want to try Ozempic?
Oh,
I want to try
hold on.
Ozempic.
Can you actually play it? Because it's
Yeah, of course I can.
not working on my thing.
CBS Mornings. What's the name of the thing?
It's here. I'll put the link to it in the private chat.
You got it.
I can't find the. Oh, here we go.
Someone's going to a peaceful protest on Saturday. I love to hear it. Peaceful protest is the way to go. It's all about nonviolence and all the good stuff.
All right. Do you see that in the private chat there?
Momentarily, it will be live and in effect. Here we go. And we are.
Is one thing all Americans can agree on. The price of eggs are too darn high. The USDA said.
Do you remember a while back?
It's
this is one
wild that they open with that
Yes.
propaganda of like one thing everybody agrees on. They're gaslighting us from the beginning. I disagree. I think that eggs are too cheap.
I think they're too cheap as well. That's something I don't agree with. I think the rent is too damn high. Do you remember that politician who used to like the rent is too damn high? It was the rent is too damn high party. I miss that guy.
Says bird flu is to blame. In the last quarter of 2024, it's estimated more than 20 million chickens died in the epidemic. And that has cut the supply of eggs and driven up prices. That's all the supply and demand we learned about in school. Well, now
supply and demand. How do you feel about supply and demand there, Crystal?
Supply and demand does not apply to animal agriculture because we're forced to pay these companies whether we buy their products or not. Cal-Maine Foods is making record profits.
Yes.
Like while we bail them out, $44 million while their stock price increase and their quarterly results are going to be out April 8th. So I'm going to stay tuned for that.
Agreed.
But it's wild. They're making record profits while they're getting millions of our tax dollars.
That is one thing I'm a little bit grateful for, if there's any silver lining. And you know me, I'm Mr. Optimism. I'm always trying to look for the lemonade in the lemons. But I'm a little bit thankful and grateful that we have I've been saying this for so many years, that supply and demand is a BS argument for veganism or plant-based life or any of these One Health or any of the stuff that we believe in. I think supply and demand is a BS argument. Like, well, if you stop buying it, then they'll stop making it. No, you had to stop doing it simply to not be complicit. And then maybe you can fight. You could become an activist and fight.
And it's like, it's all marketing
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
They are creating the demand. These producers are creating the demand. The industry is creating the demand. It's not consumers creating the demand. So
Right. They're manufacturing the demand and manufacturing our consent. Absolutely. I agree. So I'm at least glad that this is spotlighting that.
The top health official in the Trump administration, Robert.
I think we should all eat more beef tallow. More beef tallow.
F. Kennedy Jr. is proposing a new
That's what he's
approach
saying
that
right
he
there.
says will lower prices. He wants to let bird flu run wild on farms and then see which birds survive and which ones die.
So basically, that's the same tactic we're doing with school shootings. We just let it happen, and the ones that don't,
oh, that's a morbid
isn't it morbid
analogy.
that it's like do nothing? Why should we do anything?
Yeah, why should we ever do anything? Like, let's just
Well, let's not do anything. We'll just let it happen.
Yeah.
Just let bird flu happen. Just let it happen. It's so gross.
In interviews, Kennedy has said this would enable people to identify and preserve the birds immune to the disease. To help us better understand these options, we are joined by CBS News medical contributor Dr. Celine Gounder, editor-at-large for public health at KFF Health News. She was also a member of the Biden-Harris Transition COVID-19 Advisory Board and is an infectious disease expert. So you are the person that we should be talking to about this.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this new approach of basically letting bird flu do its thing, rip through American farms, and then see
She's such a skilled spokesperson. I just like watch her and like go, I'm taking notes. Like, she's so good. Like,
She's
watch
great,
her say her piece. My goal is to be as eloquent as she one day. Anyway.
And she's I have no notes. I think she's dressed well. She's presentable. Yeah. She speaks eloquently. Love it. I think she's great. Does anybody? I can't believe that. What answer could you possibly give? I haven't asked anybody. I haven't heard anyone who's, except for Brooke Rollins, who answers this question with alacrity. Like, oh yeah, just let him rip. Just let it rip. It'll be fine. We'll all be just great. Just let the viruses reign supreme.
The problem with that. Bird flu is 100% lethal in our poultry. Our poultry are highly inbred. There is no genetic diversity. So you're not going to have some that survive.
I would stop her right there.
And
like,
some...
It's not really true, huh? I was about to say.
That in a very trustworthy way and with such assuredness.
Yes.
But there are, as we know, producers who are not reporting this infection because they think they can sweep it under the rug. So it 100%.
Well, we also know it mustn't be. Okay, so she's saying that 100% of the chickens that get it die, but we know that's not true because we'll have stories from sanctuaries that have gotten bird flu infections and not all their chickens died.
Yeah, and even the chickens who actually got it, and you can say like,
some get better.
Maybe those a few chickens on the sanctuary didn't actually get it. No, there were chickens who were sick. And they recovered. So
but maybe how about this? Let me riddle me this, Batman. What about if they're more genetically diverse at the sanctuary? Huh?
It's possible.
It's likely, right? Because they'd probably be coming from different farms, from different producers. Rescue animals are different age groups. They're not identical like what she's describing.
And it's hard. I'm not saying the let her rip philosophy is a good one, but I think there's such a desire among medical professionals to dumb it down for the public.
Yeah.
To take away all nuance, to like manipulate the public into believing a certain thing, believing that this is an easy choice and an easy decision.
Because one thing we can all agree on.
I mean, I don't like RFK. I disagree with his politics and his policies and his beliefs on a lot of things. But I also think there are some producers who have been hiding this from the USDA. and who have felt that
Yes.
that was a better move for them. And we need to like engage. What do those farmers think? Was their experience? What do those producers,
Well,
what do they see on their farms?
but Crystal, don't you think? Okay, well, I can imagine what they see on their farms, and just in my imagination, I would say this is what happens. Having spent some time with farmers, when they find cows or chickens who are sick, they quarantine them, right? So it wouldn't be that, you know what I mean? So I imagine that if they have a high contact with these animals, like with dairy cows and with birds, egg-laying hens, then they're going to notice when they're not eating as much. They're going to notice when something is wrong, and
Well, I think with the birds, they notice when they have a lot of higher rates of mortality than usual. There's a certain
right.
rate of mortality every day you come out to the barn, and there's a certain number dead. When that number increases by order of magnitude, then you know something's wrong. But can you contain it to one building? And is that better than having the USDA come in and
Mhm.
exterminate all of the birds in all of your buildings? I don't know.
Well, a
Um,
smaller producer might actually might notice way more quickly though. So
yeah.
like if you only have a couple thousand birds, it's like these guys, they notice 50 are dead, but these are kind of neophytes. Whereas
Mhm.
someone who's been doing it for 3 generations, if they notice that, hey, this part of the coop is all of a sudden not producing eggs, and even before they die, they might notice something like that, then they could kill them or quarantine them, do something with them, and save the rest of the flock, which
Yeah,
is, I think, a
potentially.
great reason not to report to the USDA.
Yeah, and they're like, I just want to try to see if I can manage this
Yeah.
myself instead of bringing the feds in or the state in.
Especially if you don't trust the feds, you don't
Oh
trust
yeah.
the yeah, and if you're vertically integrated, you're selling to companies like Tyson. These aren't even your birds technically. You might get you might be
Oh
compensated
yeah.
by Tyson without having to deal with the USDA. I mean,
If you're a contractor, you get like, 50 cents per bird compared to
right.
$5 that Tyson or whatever egg company gets for the birds when they depopulate. So the
So
contractors definitely have an incentive not to report it.
that's what I'm thinking happens.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that clever contractor sees something going on, acts quickly, does not want to get the feds. And plus, there's a deep distrust of the government in that community. Deeply. I
Mhm.
mean, when I was working in politics in Virginia, and we went to the farm, I went to lots of Farm Bureau fundraisers and stuff. It's kind of a crazy experience. Like they hire stand-up comedians to do farm humor and shit. It's very funny.
Oh, hilarious. Yeah.
It's weird. Yeah. And lots of anti-vegan jokes, by the way. I don't really talk about it that often, but lots of anti-vegan jokes. It's very funny.
Wait, so
Um,
did you go do stand-up comedy in front of the Farm Bureau and do anti-vegan? That would be, I could so do that. I think
no,
that
I
might
didn't
be,
do that. I was a campaign manager for
yeah.
like 6 months on
Oh,
the
okay. That would be fun. I don't know. I kind of want to make that my side hustle. Go to the farm bureaus and like do a bunch of anti-vegan jokes.
in their
That would be funny.
yeah, I guess they have, well, like in stand-up comedy, they have they have agents, there's a pool of them, and they try to get ones that fit the vibe. And so
Yeah.
they would get like guys that weren't too political, but were probably conservative. Like they don't tell too many political jokes. And this was
Mhm.
back in the days of Obama. And it's because tensions are high. They don't
Yeah.
want to have that, but they'll tell lots of kind of overtly covertly, I should say,
Mm.
political stuff. Like I remember one joke, he said that his girlfriend made him go vegan, and he goes, vegan, out of 4 food groups, you're down to grass and mulch. And it's not that funny of a
Killed.
joke.
That killed.
Killed. People are uproariously laughing, and
God.
everyone at my table knew I was the only vegan in the room. All their heads turn at me to see if I'm offended, and I'm like,
And you're laughing at them for
yeah,
laughing
I'm
at
shaking
this
my
joke.
yes, I'm shaking my head for sure. It was
Oh
such a
my
weird
God.
experience. Brings me back. Anyway, yeah, I know that what she's saying can't be totally true. 100% death rate of any bird that gets
Yeah.
it. I don't believe
So
it, Crystal.
this is where like the
Critical thinking.
like, can we see both sides here?
Mhm.
But also we're so anti RFK, and oh, isn't he stupid for like even suggesting this? Meanwhile, we have a perfect opportunity to bring up the methods used to
Yes.
kill the animals, but
Yes.
because we're so anti RFK, we don't want to bring up that part because that dilutes the argument. Like, we don't want
Well,
to deflect from the like how stupid is RFK
you're
talking
right, and
points.
I've had to reassess since one of our broadcasts we were talking about anchor bias, and every time something, because I do have a visceral kind of rejection of RFK Jr. because he has come out as weird about animals, kind of abusive toward animals, and dismissive about their plight. So it's something that bothers me about him. Plus, I think he dismisses scientific ideas kind of a little too willy-nilly, and results in people dying of things like measles or other curable or
Mhm.
preventable diseases, right? So he troubles me, but I totally agree with you. Like, why wouldn't you bring up the method of the killing of the Depop? Also, the question of why are we even doing this at all, which is the real question, isn't it, Crystal? Like,
Yeah.
why are we producing protein this way? This doesn't make sense. It's it's not
We get
ethical, it's not
so caught
efficient.
up in the culture war, we
Totally.
forget like yeah, we just get lost in it. Let's finish watching this
Yeah,
clip here if you want to play
totally.
that.
It's like that article in The Atlantic, though, where they brought up RFK Jr., like, extolling the wonders of beef tallow. And for 100 years now, not I'm joking about the 100 years, but for like the last 45 years, scientific community has been saying eat less meat, it's eat less of it, it's more ethical to eat less, it's more environmentally sound to eat less of it. And now it's just that's out the window. America's really into flesh right now, really
Yeah,
into animals.
that
That
marketing is
die, they're
one.
What's that?
That marketing is one. The Cargills are winning for sure.
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
going to die. And these deaths are really quite upsetting to workers. They're really inhumane. You get these birds that are twisting their necks around, kind of like in The Exorcist.
Oh.
It's really horrific to watch.
Ugh.
And it's just not the right option to achieve what we're trying to achieve.
So Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, the survival of the fittest, won't work?
It won't work if you don't have genetic diversity. So if they're all genetically the same,
Yeah,
they're all going to die.
What she's saying is we broke Darwin a long time ago.
Yeah, there you go, buddy. People, Darwin, though. I mean, I love talking about Darwin, but this
When
is
we're talking about like animals that we genetically selected for
yeah,
our own purposes,
right.
not for survival of the fittest.
It belies
We selected them for production efficiency, for maximum profit, not survival of the fittest.
Yeah, we selected them and bred the Franken chicken and the chicken of tomorrow in order to lay 350 eggs a year or something stupid. Like, this nothing is natural about this situation. I do also, the imagery, the B-roll that they're using is pretty funny too.
Well,
That's
let's
not
look
what
at it.
yeah, the B-roll like of these farms. Hold on a second.
Yeah, this is not where your eggs
Yeah,
come from usually.
your eggs do not come from these
This is
guys.
yeah.
This looks like a sanctuary, for God's sake. You know, all different colored birds, different sizes, different ages.
Yeah,
They all
meanwhile,
have
she's
their
saying how
feathers.
they're all genetically similar. It's like
Yeah,
your B-roll is proving otherwise.
totally. I don't know what this is, but it ain't an egg coop, that's for sure.
The survival of the fittest won't work?
It won't work if you don't have genetic diversity. So if they're all genetically the same,
Yeah,
they're all going to die.
What she's saying is we broke Darwin a long time ago. Factory farms. So the alternative is culling. I don't really even understand how that works. How do they decide what to cull?
Well, if you have infections on, within
Hey, doctor, is it called culling?
Depopulation, mass extermination. I mean, yeah, you could call it culling.
Oh, I
But
thought we weren't using culling. I thought
I
culling was
personally don't use the word culling. I prefer depopulation or mass extermination, but
yeah.
poultry flock, they're all going to die anyway. So the idea is cull them, kill them, and to get it over with as quickly as possible. This also makes more economic sense because instead of waiting for them to die off one by one, you just get it all done with one foul swoop. And then you can decontaminate and repopulate. You can't repopulate until they've all died off, because otherwise, if you introduce new chickens into that farm, they're all just going to get reinfected.
So any farms that have bird flu would just need to basically kill all the birds to have a clean slate and start over again?
That's exactly right. And there's a compensation program from the USDA that's been in.
Look at this. Now, this is what it actually looks like. This drone footage right here.
I mean, that's a smaller place. That doesn't look like a Central Valley eggs
right
sort of place, but that's more like a Sunrise in Sonoma or, one of those Weber family farms.
Makes economic sense. I think that's really important too, right? Like if in any industrial process, even if I have a lot of experience in industrial beer, if you have something go awry, like yeast might get infected, you get an infection of bacteria in your beer as it's fermenting and it's not going to taste right. The best thing you can do is dump it all down the drain. We're talking sometimes, tens of thousands of gallons sometimes. And because if you don't, that bacteria can get into other parts and infect your brewery for the end of time. You have to shut it all down, sanitize everything. Because the bacteria got it. Bacteria and viruses are similar in that way, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
In existence.
Yeah. And it lasts for 140 days. Is that how long on duck feathers does it survive?
Well, on duck feathers, 160 days, I think it was. And they usually recommend a fallowing period of 120 days. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to kill them all and sanitize. That makes more sense, right?
Since for a few years now. So they are compensated for these losses and then they can move on.
Right, to help the whole system. But RFK Jr. surely knows that there isn't genetic diversity among birds. Why would he think that this idea of letting the strong survive work?
You'd have to ask him on that. Maybe he didn't take genetics in college. I don't know.
Or medical.
Do you have to take genetics in college to understand this?
I mean,
this is high school
feel
stuff.
like
This is like Linnaeus.
Yeah, this is just basic, but whatever.
Or Mendelssohn. Who is the guy Mendel? Who's the guy who did the quadrants and you put the the recessive genes and
and like she's very good at like spinning this narrative, but this isn't clear cut. Like we do constantly genetically select birds that are better.
Bit more robust.
There is, even in a very genetically similar flock, there is still some genetic diversity. And I think maybe he's hoping that there will be some that are more resistant. But I think most people are thinking that that's pretty outrageous of an assumption. And there's just going to be another virus that'll come along and get them, the way that we're raising them. So, yeah.
Sold.
Oh, he's not a doctor. That's right.
I'd be curious to know. Okay, so
he's a lawyer, though.
When I buy chicken at the grocery store, there's all kinds of writing on the package, and one of the things is often like no antibiotics. But would antibiotics actually help in this case? Could you treat some of these?
That's not what antibiotics are for, right? Antibiotics aren't antiviral.
Yeah, but sometimes in viral infections, they do have secondary bacterial infections.
Okay.
And so maybe sometimes giving antibiotics and antivirals at the same time would help the situation. But she's going to go into what the problem with that, with antivirals is too.
Well, there is discussion of using antivirals. So antibiotics are for bacteria, antivirals are for viruses. This was tried by the Chinese some 20 years ago. They used antivirals for the flu. What you ended up having was resistance developing to those antivirals. We don't use them anymore because they don't work for us anymore either. And so we have two antivirals. You may know them as Tamiflu and Xofluza. If those were used, there's no question you would just see resistance reemerge, and we would lose two of the really important tools we have to treat influenza in people.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So then best option, what should we be rooting for if we want lower prices for eggs at home?
Well, one dirty little secret is importation of eggs is very cheap. The eggs that you would be getting from places like Mexico and so on would be a lot cheaper than what our poultry farmers can provide here. No one wants to do that because that would be really damaging to our own industry. So if you really want to protect our own industry, it means addressing things like biosecurity measures. We think that the bird flu may also be transmitted airborne, so it's not just direct contact. That would mean things like airtight barns where the animals are being kept. That's very costly. And then other measures like vaccination, not just for animals, but for people. But we're not making the progress we need to be on those fronts.
On the vaccine?
Or just stop eating. Am I the only one? Why do I feel like I'm in crazy town when people like this talk? Like, we need to raise them in airtight containers. Like, does that sound like a good idea? Or
produce protein using other methods that don't require this, for sure. Yeah.
And okay, you want to import them. Fine, import them. It'll still be hella expensive. Like, she's saying we can do that cheaply. Not if we're not putting billions of eggs into the market. It won't be so cheap anymore.
Oh, my God.
How would that be cheap? I don't know. I know that I don't know. Is there anything that's ever skyrocketed in price that you just gave up? Like
gas. Oil changes.
We're not even close to that though. Like, when cigarettes went from $1 to $8, a lot of people quit. Because it was just like, holy shit, I can't afford $8 a day or $16 a day for a real habit.
That's amazing that they quit because of the high price, because it's so addictive. Like, even cigarettes, people quit because of the price. That's promising.
But they tell you what's addictive in it, right? It's the nicotine. So people start going, oh, I'll chew the gum, I'll do the patch, I'll do anything that's cheaper than buying cigarettes, because cigarettes are the killer, right? It's not the nicotine that's killing you. It's all the tar and all the other stuff that's in the cigarette. So it's like the people just stopped smoking. They smoked way less, right? They would buy a pack a week all of a sudden or whatever. I just... They cut back is my point, I guess. And a lot of people just starting.
Yeah. So this was interesting. They found that a Minnesota herd became reinfected with avian influenza, just proving that this virus isn't going to burn itself out. And we will see how many more herds now become reinfected. So
what's to stop them from doing things like giving the animals Tamiflu? What the lady said, the doctor lady, when she said that if we started giving them Tamiflu, we would have more robust viruses, and then we would lose our tools against fighting viruses. Well, I don't know. Does it seem like they would just go rogue at some point, these corporations, and just be like, yeah, we're giving them Tamiflu. Don't tell anybody.
I don't know. I don't know how cost effective that would be. Is it very expensive in birds? I don't know. Is there like a withdrawal time in milk? I'm not sure about all of that. It'd just be like weigh the cost and benefits of it. And would it even work? Because you could give Tamiflu. It's not like a silver bullet by any means. It's not like, oh my God, I'm all better now. Like it helps a little bit, but it's not, the best thing.
No. It would make sense. I can't leave this column here without One Health.
Yeah.
A One Health caution.
We are moving towards vaccination and living with a zoonotic pathogen in dairy cattle that is likely undergoing ongoing convergent mammalian adaptations. And we've discovered from that article we talked about in the beginning, we've had zoonotic influenza pathogens infecting dairy cows for a while now, and it's just got on our radar now.
Yeah.
How are we going to monitor and control that or not? Driving viral replication into a subclinical infection status is a two-edged sword. We'd better be continuously sequencing viruses and widely publicizing metadata under this scenario for our own protection. That's why an open This is National Milk Testing Strategy approach is so critical for everyone. Yeah, and will we learn? Like, will we get enough data to be like, maybe we should support board cow milk, where we make milk without cows? Like, we literally have the ability to make cow's milk without cows. Why are we still?
It feels like, you know what it feels like to me? Like, we've had these pandemics before, and people have lowered their consumption of milk before, like during foot and mouth or during, I don't know, various outbreaks. People are like, maybe we shouldn't do this. And then it comes back. It's like fur almost. Like, people stop buying fur. It falls out of fashion. No one's doing it. And then all of a sudden people are buying fur again. And you're like, how did this happen? Why are people doing this? Like, I thought we it's like human beings, they want to exploit animals for a quick buck. And it's so easy to enslave them and harm them and do these horrible things. That it's like we have such short memory spans. It's not the first time. You said, will we learn? Why didn't we learn the last 5 times this has gone down? There's probably, I mean, isn't it? We invented pasteurization because people were getting sick. People were dying of meningitis and stuff. Like,
I want to have you play the little, do you know the little Reddit video? Go to that Reddit thread I shared in the private chat and just play this. I feel like it's short. It'd be a nice transition to Veterinarians United.
It says it's not safe for work.
It's fine.
What did you send me? Oh, I've seen this. Okay. Yeah. What did you send me? Dang. All right, let me there it is.
Is the sound not playing?
You just choose not to notice them, except.
Did you not hear it?
No, I can hear it now.
And it blinds you.
It's a little quiet, but
about the real reasons for oppression and.
She's a little her sound isn't great. I've got it. Oh, hold on. It's also not turned up. Let's do it one more time. Okay. One more time. And it's off. What the hell is up with the sound on Reddit? Here we go.
Just choose not to notice them except when it's convenient. And it blinds you to the truth about the real reasons for oppression and injustice. Most of us, in fact, exist somewhere in the middle of the pyramid.
I want to find this pyramid. What is this pyramid called? The diagram was made by Zoe Tammy. Let me take a note real fast. Zoe Tame for 2014 rap news video. Zoe Tame. Okay.
Debt slaves, you are here. And then when it gets higher, you can't really read the writing, but it's
that's why I thought if I could find something that was
women are below debt slaves, just FYI.
Yeah. Modern day slaves are under women. Chattel slaves, women used to be chattel slaves. Indigenous peoples are below them. Animals, earth, and oceans. You are here. I like the all-seeing eye of the unfinished pyramid too. It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
People watching this video benefit to some extent from a very unequal global distribution of power built on the exploitation of other people, other species, and the earth itself. Conspiracists love their livestock metaphors, always comparing we the people to cattle and sheep. But how do we the people treat literal sheep and cattle? Not well. I noticed
just from that little clip, it was not safe for work. It's so funny to me that people put these animals in their mouths, and yet showing a half a second, that was less than a second, of a pig being slaughtered is not safe for work.
Conspiracists are not vegan, and I'm not being preachy here. I'm not vegan either. Yes, I've seen all the sad vegan documentaries, and I agree. The way animals are treated is horrible. But it doesn't actually motivate me.
But I don't actually give a shit. So you love this because this is like playing into like what you always say.
This is my
like,
whole
no
belief system. Everybody loves to be a slave.
Everyone loves to be a slave. I see that Tesla is back there with her conspiracy theory stuff. Tesla's right there. famous vegan. I wonder how many other famous vegans are on her board.
Me to stop eating meat. Why? Well, I've been introspecting about this, and I think it's because
Introspecting.
I
I've
am
been
just
introspecting.
not that good of a person. Not that I'm satanic. I don't slaughter animals for fun while chanting the names of demons. At least, not anymore.
But saying that I'm not that good of a person, isn't she saying that vegans in fact are?
Yes.
The vegans are just
Like,
better
we
people.
have to enjoy this performance art that she's given. This is very profound, and I would
Yes.
challenge us not to interrupt it and just play it all the way through because it's very short and very profound.
Well,
what she's
I'm in the
saying.
habit of not I'm in the habit of sometimes intentionally interrupting because I don't want to. Sometimes YouTube and sometimes X will just blip us out if we're in a copyright violation. Not always, but it has happened.
I've listened and I'm learning, but I am complacent and selfish. I prioritize my own habits, comfort, health, and pleasure. I don't have this martyr impulse. I don't think this makes me evil. I think it makes me morally average. And when you take a vast global economy built on centuries of exploitation
Morally average.
and fill it with morally average primates who evolved to survive in small groups with limited resources, you really don't need a conspiracy to explain the results.
So like
I
Jeffrey
think we should
Epstein,
brand ourselves as morally average vegans.
morally average
How about
vegan.
we go with that to cut off the do-gooder derogation right off the bat. Admit we are morally average vegans. We are not morally superior because we're vegan. We're just morally average vegans. Like morally average, like whatever. Like, I love that. Like, let's embrace our moral averageness.
But don't we
And
do that? We say that veganism is the moral baseline. Like that is,
shouldn't be. It's not the moral baseline.
you don't think so? I mean,
No.
what's the moral baseline?
Activism.
Oh, the activism is the moral baseline.
Yeah.
I would say
But you do
activism is
nothing to help the animals when you're vegan. You do
right, but
absolutely nothing.
that's why it's the baseline. It's the lowest by
Yeah.
simply not harming
Why is it
children.
even a baseline? It's below. It's not even anything. It doesn't make a difference whatsoever.
Because anything
So
under that would be immoral. Moral baseline is like
no.
just being a fairly just like
If
Jeffrey
you're a
Epstein on her
veterinarian that eats animals and you are working in the industry and you are also advocating against gestation crates, you are better than a vegan. We'll debate that.
So if Jeffrey Epstein is giving
Anyway, this is a boring conversation.
billions of dollars to
I don't want to make this about veganism or not, but because this is not why we're here.
but the morally average thing, or the morally average versus moral baseline, I mean, if veganism is morally average, it's still, I think, more than what I normally say is it's the baseline. Saying it's average is like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I really like that term, morally average, and I want to like brand it and make merch out of it.
Morally average.
Celebrate. We have to celebrate. I want to get people to realize that they could become a Nazi. A vegan could become a Nazi.
Oh.
And I want us all to be aware of how we can be manipulated into causing harm to others. And I think just us all acknowledging our moral averageness is an important step in that.
But Crystal, how are you defining veganism in that sentence? If you could say that a vegan, because that it does beg that. I normally wouldn't ask you that, but it does beg that question, because if by saying a vegan can become a Nazi, we're conflating two terms that kind of require definition, right? Like I think we all understand like a Nazi being an authoritarian who's a bigot and someone who exploits others. But then how could it? What's a vegan in this?
A vegan is somebody who doesn't consume animal products.
Okay.
And there are vegans who are advocating for violence against other humans, and there are vegans who try to smash other activists so that they could get more donations and attention for themselves.
Gotcha.
And so I think that,
Yeah.
and we all don't see, we think, oh, we have to make these tough choices and behave in bad ways because the industry is so bad. And this is how when fighting the monster, you can become the monster. And that's what I see a lot of groups and activists are doing. In
Yeah, I'm
fact,
with you on
some of the
that.
most prominent groups and activists are becoming the monster that they're fighting.
A lot of times the oppressed ends up emulating the
Mhm.
oppressor, and sometimes the ones that you're actively against, you end up becoming just like the ones who abused you. But I guess this is also why I don't like the word vegan. In many, I do. It sucks because it hurts me to even
And this,
say it,
we're
honestly. Like,
talking a lot about veganism when this isn't a vegan show. And so I really feel like we should move on.
no problem. You just made me watch
Yeah,
the
sorry.
lady talking about veganism,
No,
but
she
like,
was just talking about the hierarchies and being morally average and all of that. So that's why I thought that was interesting.
okay.
Did
But
we
for the
finish
record,
watching the whole thing?
yeah, that was the end of it.
Okay,
For the record, I mean, to me, like Leslie Cross talking about veganism as someone who believes that animals should not be exploited by humans. I don't know that you know what I mean? But most people do believe that veganism is just not eating animals, or
yeah.
or the fluids derived from them. So that's what sucks, right? But I agree with you. Someone who's like a plant-based person can still be a Nazi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is our newsletter that came out. We will be in New York April 12th through the 18th. We'll be at Long Island University April 15th, speaking at noon, and Cornell April 17th. And I hope you can come to our talks. We'd love to see you. So if you are in New
Can you
York
give
and
us a
wanna,
sneak peek? Can you tell us if people are in New York, they can come see it, but do you know what your talks are going to be about?
my normal, like, One Health, oppression of voices who are trying to raise concerns, and the news about avian influenza, a little bit about how we're dealing with it, and what we as a veterinary profession need to do to properly address things like avian influenza and allow our profession to advance and do more for the animals. And that means not bullying and retaliating against those who are voicing concerns about these issues. So I'll talk about the retaliation that I've faced in trying to raise awareness about these things, and what we can do as a veterinary profession moving forward to address some of these issues.
And the first one is going to be at Long Island University, which I found
Mhm.
is actually it's not actually in Long Island for some reason. It's like in Manhattan or something. I don't
There's
understand how that
two Long
works.
Island universities. So this one's in Greenvale, which is a little bit outside of the city, Brooklyn. So, we'll be at that campus. And if you're in New York, email me at info@ourhonor.org, and I can give you the address and the time and everything like that.
And the second one's at Cornell, which
Mhm.
I'm excited. I've never been to Cornell, so I'm really excited to see it.
Yeah, and I just found somebody reached out to me and wanted to talk about various things, and they are at Cornell, and I'm like, I'll be. They even suggested April 17th. Okay, can we meet on April 17th? And I'm like, I will be actually in Cornell on April 17th, so maybe we can meet in person. So that'll be fun. It's like serendipity. Some things are just meant to be, and that worked out well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. Bill Nye went to Cornell. Ruth Bader Ginsburg went to Cornell. Ann Coulter, I know you're a big fan of hers. Janet Reno and Huey Lewis. He's Addicted to Love, and he went to Cornell.
Oh, wow. It was the second best vet school for a long time, and I think
Really?
might still be second best to UC Davis, which always is the best vet school in the world.
Yeah, Davis
Um,
is pretty great.
And we got this published in the Sacramento Bee, which we've talked about a lot, The Myth of Humane Slaughter. And this is, definitely check out this article. I'm so glad it was published. You can read, and if you're not signed up for a newsletter, go to ouronor.org and sign up. It's that little pop-up window.
Mm-hmm.
And this new petition filed by Animal Partisan and the ALDF, which is the first of its kind.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Which asks if VSD Plus violates state animal protection laws, because there's state laws in Minnesota says you can't confine an animal to a building without circulating air. So we'll see if that works out. And I'll be speaking at the Animal Law Symposium May 1st through 2nd.
Well, Minnesota's doing all sorts of interesting stuff, like the fact that they're able to, I mean, the lawsuit where they're suing the government, they're suing companies for their climate change transgressions or their business practices that have contributed to climate change. The youth are allowed to sue companies for lost abilities and wages and stuff like that, lost opportunities. That originated in Minnesota, and it's going to go, and it's going to the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court, I think, I don't know, did a decision come? I think the decision, I'll have to look it up, but Minnesota's really interesting stuff is happening there. I'm excited. And the fact that this is happening, maybe Minnesota will have an interesting decision, and it might go someplace, it might raise a bunch of awareness. I'm excited.
And all beings considered, what do you think of the name of this whole live stream that we're doing about animal issues? And I want to bring up the declaw ban in California, because the California Veterinary Medical Association just came out with their bill letters, opposition, legislative updates, and they, of course, oppose the bill, and as they do.
Yeah, the California VMA is opposing the declaw ban, the anti-declaw legislation.
So this is all the things that they support, all of these bills, and they are opposing the animal declawing. Why? This bill marks the 6th attempt. Actually, I think it's the 7th or 8th,
I thought. Yeah.
Attempt to ban the procedure of cat declawing in the California state legislature. The CVMA has traditionally been opposed to any measure that dictates how veterinarians practice veterinary medicine. The CVMA believes that decisions to perform procedures should be made by clients and their veterinarians, and in the case of declawing, only after all alternative possibilities have been explored. The veterinary profession has adequately regulated itself in regard to declaw procedure, as several major corporate conglomerates do not offer it as a service. It is not taught in veterinary schools, and the CVMA policy discourages it as an elective procedure. The veterinary profession has moved away from this procedure by its own efforts, and thus the CVMA does not feel that it needs to be made into a crime in the law. But of course, veterinarians are being bullied into performing declaws.
It's a mutilation. It's unbelievable to me. Has anybody in the chat ever met a cat who went through? I know you probably met them after, but have you ever seen a cat going through it? It's torture to have their knuckles removed. Will you, doctor, explain it just a little bit, what declawing entails? Because when you told it to me, it sounded much more gruesome than I think people are privy to.
Yeah, I mean, it's severing the first digit, that first bone in their
this
their
bone
claw.
right here, right? The one with my fingernail attached to it.
Yeah, all of the tendons and the nerves. And
you look like Rahm Emanuel.
We know that they suffer as a result of this. They have higher rates of biting people, and that's one of the things that the CVMA is claiming why we need to protect declawing, is because what if somebody's on blood thinners or is immunocompromised? We don't want them to have to give up their cat because they're worried about their cat scratching them. But what about when their cat then starts biting them after they're declawed, or stops using the litter box, which is often a problem. They have pain in their feet from when they scratch the litter box, and so they start peeing outside the litter box, and then so they're relinquished to the shelter because of that. So
they don't usually do the back legs anyway, right? They just do the front.
Sometimes they do both.
They do all 4 legs. Oh my God.
Sometimes they even just the front claws is enough, and they have back pain and all of these issues
No,
as
I
a
mean, not
result.
for the cat. I mean, it's stupid to think that someone who develops some kind of immunodeficiency all of a sudden is like, well, I've got to cut all the fingers off my cat.
Yeah.
Bro, like, come on, it's not that hard to find a loving home for a cat. I know it's difficult, but it ain't that
Well,
difficult.
no, and you don't have to give up your cat just because you're on blood thinners. Like,
No?
it's ridiculous.
So this is all a lie. I'm giving them
Yeah.
I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt.
No.
Is there any situation what is there any disease? I'd like a list of diseases that the doctors recommend you getting rid of your cat if
There's none.
if they befall you.
The NIH, the CDC, the US Public Health Service, the Infectious Diseases Society of America, and the Canadian Medical Association all state explicitly that declawing is not advised, even for the animals of persons who are severely immunocompromised, including with those with HIV, especially given that declawed cats are 4 times more likely to bite and 3 times more likely to act aggressively as a result of this procedure. So and we now know, like, it's been banned in several states now, and it's been very successful, and they haven't noticed any of these problems. So it's ridiculous that the CVMA is still having this backwards position.
It's weird. California's so weird, you know? Like, what the heck, California? You'd think that we'd be the ones to get rid of it. Am I like?
Yeah, we're a very conservative state in a lot of ways. Very, very antiquated in our beliefs, in a lot of ways.
Or atavistic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bizarre. It's just a weird thing. We get rid of we have a fur ban and a gestation crate ban, but not a declaw ban.
Yeah. And is anybody willing to, like, come on and discuss? Are you pro declawing? Do you think that we shouldn't ban declawing? I am down to talk with you about it and understand this further. I think I've heard all the arguments, and
I'd love to know more. I'll keep an open mind if you want to
like,
tell me
if
why
I
it's
haven't
cool.
made the case to you and you still think, oh, Crystal's got it wrong, let's discuss it. And I don't debate. Like, I'm down to just hear your perspective on these things. I'm not into arguing with people.
Is it as bad as is debarking worse? How could it be worse,
I
right?
don't think it's worse, actually. I think declawing is far worse than debarking.
Yeah, cutting off your fingers got to be worse than debarking.
Like, debarking, all they do is they take, like, this biopsy thing and they cut the vocal cords with clip done. And dogs can still, like, bark, you know, but they don't make the sound. And I'm not pro debarking in any means, but it's definitely not as cruel as.
It would make my life easier if every dog was debarked, but I still am against debarking.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it would make my quality of living would go way up if all dogs were debarked.
I love working at the cat-only clinics because you don't have the barking dogs, and it's just like meow, meow.
I can hear a dog barking right now, no matter where I go. Ever since, there's something. Americans having 50% of American homes have dogs in them now. It's like you can't escape. They're constant.
Yeah. So I wanted to pull up the ban fireworks thing and see where we're at with that. Do you have any updates on that?
Well, we sent it back out to tomorrow. We're going to see. We'd like to send it again in a couple weeks to see if we can get some attention from the Disney Corporation. But hopefully savepluto.org. I want to start making some videos about explaining why. I know that on some of the veterinarian Facebooks, people were like, I don't get why you think that this is important. My Disney hasn't sent me any strays or whatever. Like, it's a little weird to me because I didn't think it was that much of a stretch. The idea that if we popularize it, people do it. If Disney carries out these large displays nightly, people think that this is a fun way to celebrate, and they do it too. I mean, I think if there's a problem in America where we've got a bunch of movies with guns in them every year and people love shooting their guns, or we have a bunch of movies with, not that life imitates art all the time, but like it's popular. If J-Lo's out there wearing fur fur sales go up. I mean, this is why we have celebrity endorsements. The Disney Corporation is basically a celebrity endorsement of fireworks. Fireworks, fireworks are responsible for something like 20% of runaways. That's too crazy to me.
Yeah. So we've got 56 signers so far. Has anybody here not signed on yet? Like anybody listening not signed on yet? We've got more listeners right now than people who've signed on. So if you haven't signed on, go to savepluto.org and sign on.
So I saw a video this week of something that happened in Japan ages ago, and they had their first bullet trains, and these trains were going far too quick for everybody. They wanted the trains to go faster, but what they found was that as the trains went through the tunnels were older than the trains. As the trains went through the tunnels, it would push the air so quickly ahead of it that when it exited the tunnel, it would sound like sonic booms coming out. Not really sonic booms, but something very, very loud. And it would disturb not only nearby villages near these tunnels, but also the wildlife. And the wildlife, they're finding all these dead animals, and they're finding these animals running into towns. It was like, and it was this disaster. And so I found out this week that is why when you go to Japan or any country where they have high-speed rail, they have these long noses on the front of their trains. I always thought that was like what they needed to do to go so fast, but that's not the case at all. They have those long noses so that the air can move around the train when they're in the tunnels and they don't make so much noise. It's a noise abatement feature of their design. And I'm like, this ties together with fireworks, which is all about noise. And we talked with Andre about his thing with the silencers. And I'm like, it's funny.
Yeah.
I hear people all the time that care about the environment and care about stuff talk about dark sky ordinances, and so people can see the stars again, ordinances that tell places like Walmart with these big parking lots with all these lights to either angle them down or shut them off at night so people can look at the stars, and so the animals can actually do, so we don't kill all of the lightning bugs and all of that. But sound is far worse than light, I think. I mean, light's bad, but I've heard about light my whole life, and it's just now that people are talking about sound, and I don't know.
It's really interesting how people, I thought this would be a campaign that would unite people no matter what their beliefs are about animal rights and veganism and all of that, and they would just
love cats and dogs,
join on to this campaign, and then we could use that to build momentum for other issues, and bring more people into our circle. And then we passed this thing, now let's pass the next thing. But there's just not a lot of enthusiasm for this campaign, and so I don't know.
Maybe
I'm
people
thinking,
don't actually
I don't want
care
to
about dogs.
invest that much resources into it if people aren't enthusiastic about it. If people aren't sharing this, if people aren't, then let's try.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought that hashtag Save Pluto would catch on, but obviously people don't care about dogs and cats as much as I thought. I don't know. It just seems weird to me.
Yeah. When so many people don't like it, it's like, here, we have the chance to stop it at
Here's something you
Disney.
could do. Sign a thing,
and join our community, and let's start writing about this and getting it done. But what do people in the chat want, or what are they interested in? What do you guys want to see the next campaign to be? What do you think is going to build momentum?
Yeah, anybody who has an idea,
make
let's
change for the animals. But yeah, anyway, and we got the ASPCA thing to to ban slaughter, horse slaughter. That's still on our newsletter. So you can sign on to all these things. I'll just
Did
post the
anyone sign the
link.
horse slaughter one? Because I mean, you think that people care about. I always think people care about stuff, and then I find out they don't. It's always so
Yeah.
depressing.
I don't know. That link goes to the ASPCA, so they collect it. So I'll just say sign on to all our stuff here. So this is the link to the newsletter. I don't know. Do these links work when I put them in the chats?
Not for us, but for
access them?
them, it depends on what platform they're on. But so,
Okay.
but usually yes.
So that's our newsletter. So sign on and share with your veterinarian too. And the last thing I wanted to talk about, because this came up in the Society of Veterinary Medical Ethics group. Somebody was asking about, like, what do we do about the problem with the high cost of veterinary care?
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that I've been talking about for a while. It's outrageous that we haven't gotten the veterinary profession together to advocate for redirection of public funds away from these harmful corporations towards providing community-based, publicly funded veterinary care for all animals. Like, I work in clinics that are funded by the government and donations, and we, spay neuter 100 cats, community cats in a day, and do things like that. And it's a fun job. People who do this line of work don't suffer the burnout that general practice veterinarians suffer from, because we have a very rewarding job. We don't have to talk about money. People either get it for free, or the cost is very upfront and very affordable. Everybody's grateful for the service that we provide. So we don't get all of the hate that general practice and emergency vets get. And we love the work. Why can't we fund more of these clinics and get more veterinarians involved with these clinics? And why aren't veterinarians super angry at these billion-dollar corporations that are taking millions of our tax dollars, whether we buy their products or not?
And the NIH taking money for vivisection, and that type of money could literally
vivisection
give.
is an animal rights term, and we don't use that term. But I think that, there's definitely, like, vivarium-based research is outdated. And as we've seen with bird flu, we should be funding a lot more epidemiological research in the field, discovering the spread of these viruses. And we've developed so many new treatments for our animal companions and other animals through clinic-based research on animals. Like, we need to instead, like, we could afford to do all these diagnostics that most people can't afford for their animals if it was part of a study. So you come into the vet, your dog is now part of a study, and all of your diagnostics and everything are going to be publicly funded for the good, the betterment of society.
And shared to all, so you have more transparency. And that's another thing, like we found many times in human relevant research and medicine, there's just, we build these columns of knowledge that aren't helpful, because without sharing, people don't even know. We've heard lots of times about people have discovered cures and they're unable to share them with others. So unless you find this one doctor who happens to know that this medicine affects that, you don't even know. You'll never find out, because it's unshared. With animals, you could, because they don't have HIPAA. They don't know HIPAA with animals, right? You can actually get.
In theory, I mean, I've run into that a lot with some veterinarians who work for zoos and such, and there is some confidentiality stuff, and they feel like they can't speak their truth and warn other vets about this facility because of what they signed, even though the facility, the management are not behaving correctly. they can't share the documentation about what the zoo animals are going through because of the confidentiality stuff. So it's a problem. And I think we need to create more laws to protect veterinarians so that they can rescue animals, speak their truth without fearing that their license will be revoked.
You're right.
because
This
of it.
retribution that happens is, I mean, yeah, I mean, we've gone through the math a lot of times together that if we got rid of some of this kind of irrelevant, outdated research and the way the money has changed hands, we could give every animal in America free healthcare, basically. Like it's not that far-fetched, really.
We spend $38 billion each year propping up outdated methods of protein production, while we also spend $38 billion a year privately on veterinary care for our animals. Like literally just redirect those funds and we could pay for the healthcare of all dogs
And
and cats.
$20 billion in taxpayer money for whatever the PC term is for vivisection through the NIH.
Vivarium-based research, animal
It's a
research.
mouthful.
Yeah,
Why?
because the whole animal rights, ending animal experimentation, I hate that because
Why?
it's immediately dismissed because I want animal experimentation, but
Why do you want animal experimentation?
I want us to be able to research the other beings in the world. I am humans should not interact with other species at all, but I think it can be done with the same respect that we give to when we experiment on human infants, which we do. We have to test things on human infants to make sure that it works. And
But
children
we're testing on human infants to save human infants. We're not testing on dogs to save dogs. We're testing on dogs to save humans.
We are testing on dogs to save dogs. And I am against experimentation that is not species directed. So I don't think that you should be doing an experiment on the wrong species in hopes that it will benefit another species. And merely for the purpose because of that, if we were to do it on the appropriate species, it would cause harm to the appropriate species.
But that's the overwhelming amount of research that we're doing on animals.
What percentage? Do you have the numbers behind that?
I've read extensively on the subject and almost all of it. I mean, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but we're not testing on monkeys. We're not taking monkeys away from their mothers and giving them like the Harlow experiments where we're giving them the stuffed mother in order to see what.
Are we still doing I prefer to talk about experiments we're currently doing right now that are outdated.
Okay, well, in Michigan, they were doing tests just last year of giving cocaine to monkeys and depriving them of food and water to see if they can what cognitive disabilities they might have. And there was another one at Madison where they were taking monkeys and playing loud noises through the night so that they wouldn't be able to get to sleep, and then seeing if they can depriving them of food and water and forcing them to do tricks to see if you could pull an all-nighter and still pass tests, which we all know you can't.
It's ridiculous.
Or University of Massachusetts, where they were taping hand warmers to baby monkeys to see if they can mimic the effects of human menopause, a condition that monkeys don't experience, in order to see if they, once they are deprived of food and water, if they can do cognitive experiments. Like these are ongoing experiments that are happening right now.
Yeah, and it's crazy that we have houseless people out there on the streets right now who don't have access to medical care, we could be providing publicly funded healthcare to them with these funds and do diagnostics on them, give them the diagnostics they need, advancing medicine. But we're not doing that. We're instead wasting our money doing outdated animal experiments. It's really frustrating. And if anybody out there wants to come on and discuss this, and like you are doing research on a species for the benefit of humans and you want to talk about it, like, come on, I am happy to have a respectful conversation about it. But, the way I talk to Sky, like, I disagree with Sky all the time.
You
I don't
do,
know if I'm kind of a bitch, but,
you're not a
you
bitch,
know,
but it makes me, I appreciate our relationship because you make me think. But just one last thing about the animal experimentation. If we don't call for abolition, then we don't have a strong negotiating position. When we call for abolition, they'll come back to us. The more we call for abolition, the more they'll be like, well, is this okay? What if it's in this only like, we
mhm.
can't call for better better bigger cages for chimps at Harvard. Not chimps, but they have rhesus macaques in Harvard that they're experimenting on, and marmosets that they're
Yeah, I'm
experimenting
like,
on.
why are we doing primate research like that? That's ridiculous. We
Well,
have
so if I call
primate
for the
in
abolition of
sanctuary.
primate
Yeah.
research, would you push back on
It's still
that?
not the right term because I know our friend Dr. Zamzat works in a sanctuary, and I'm sure she would love access to public funding to do research on the primates that she takes care of.
I don't
Like,
think she'd want to
provide
experiment on them. I don't think she.
diagnostics to them, and maybe even like, is there some rare disease that those primates have, or that she has one with some weird disease that they discovered through the extensive publicly funded diagnostics that they've uncovered, and they want to develop a treatment, an individualized treatment for that primate and see how it
Yeah.
works. And they have a good idea that, we're weighing out, there's risks and benefits to this all, but this, given all of our modeling, this seems to work. I think she would appreciate that. Like, let's try it on this primate.
But modeling is not the same thing as animal experimentation. Like
Well,
modeling
it
something.
might end up where we have developed a drug that is tailored to that individual, and now we
Doing
get to
some
the
kind
point
of
where we
clinical
have to
trial on
inject
a.
it into that, to do a clinical trial. So that would be experimentation. And that's the type of experimentation when it goes through an ethics panel, and when we fully, like, which, there already are institutional review boards, which even for human beings still are problematic because there's bullying and
Yes.
retaliation of the dissenting voice.
Yes.
So we need to be able to have these sorts of panels where people can dissent and stop
Yes.
something from going forward without being retaliated against.
Well, I get
And
what yeah, I completely agree with that. And I would even go so far as to agree with, like, if you're trying to test the new, I don't know, monkey aspirin for monkeys, and you have monkeys that have headaches, and you've got this idea, like that type of experimentation might actually help the lives of monkeys. I don't know why we would ever want to do that, but I mean, I guess for monkeys in sanctuaries or something, sure. I get that, but that is a far cry from what we're talking about the NIH doing, and that's just not what they're doing. They're doing these horrific Dr. Mengele style stuff that we can't, like, stomach. It's every time I look at it, it's never something that's like, oh, we're measuring the poop and finding out what. It's never that. It's always this, like, swim fail tests, or cracking their skulls with hammers to see if head trauma makes them more afraid of, like,
Mhm.
of birds or something. That was something that they were doing. They were seeing if monkeys were afraid of spiders on their food, and if head trauma changed that. Like, what in the hell are we doing? Like,
Yeah.
I, sometimes you find stuff out, and it's so horrific and it's so disgusting that you're left with no other option but to call for abolition. And then, sure, if you want to come at me, if
And then the people who call for abolition, you can call for abolition. It's not our honors message. Like, other
Mm,
groups can and do, and we can say, like, we'll counter with, like, look, those guys clearly, they have a different philosophy than we do. We're saying we need to not do vivarium-based research. We need to redirect public funds away from that and support epidemiological clinic-based research on
Yeah.
studies that are species directed for the species that those studies are for the benefit of that animal, not for the benefit of a species that's not
Well, can you
in
define,
alignment.
because my understanding of epidemiological studies is something that we would do by via observation in
Just
more,
diagnostics in a lot of animals.
yeah,
Yeah.
in existing situations, not sticking them in labs and observing them, but being like, we're talking like Jane Goodall going out there and taking some
Yeah, but
samples and
like
stuff.
imagine you bring your dog to the vet, and every time you
Yeah.
bring them to the vet, if they're compliant, we're like, oh, we're gonna get some blood, feces, swabs of their
Run some
eyes,
tests.
urine,
Yeah.
and we're gonna run the gamut. We're gonna test them
Mm-hmm.
for everything, and because we just want to know what do dogs have out there, and you're gonna
Yeah.
benefit from that, and you don't have to pay anything because that's for the public good.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I
Mm-hmm.
envision. And
Yeah.
your spay and neuter is going to be publicly funded because that's for the public good. And all of your vaccines are publicly funded because that's for the public good. But this can only work in a society where we decide we are not selling animals for profit, or else we're just
Yes.
subsidizing breeders who want to
Agreed.
sell animals for profit. But that's the future that I envision. Like, imagine being a vet at a clinic where you don't have to have the money talk with anybody. Like,
Mm-hmm.
any dog who comes into your clinic, cat who comes into your clinic, they're part of a study, and you just get to treat them, run all the diagnostics you want to, like imaging. It's because it's all part of the study for the public good. Imagine what we'll find with all of that if we could do all the diagnostics that we wanted to.
But in the meantime, Crystal, how do I convince University of Massachusetts to stop torturing baby monkeys? How do I get them to stop doing that?
Well, different groups are doing different things. I advocate for, like, how do we start those conversations with those researchers? If you are a vegan or animal rights activist, go to vet school, like work in those labs, take those classes, talk to those professors who are doing those studies, ask the tough questions, and start talking about it publicly and debating these issues.
Yeah.
And the PETA's done a great job with this, and do your FOIA requests and bring it
Well,
to the
PETA also
press.
has I mean, I think PETA, it's funny, PETA always comes up when we're talking about this stuff, and I feel like every time it does, I got to defend them. But in this case, I think that the best thing that they've done in the Viv area of activism is the research modernization deal, which outlines the type of research that we could be doing that's human relevant rather than experimenting kind of through these curiosity experiments and stuff on animals, through organs on chips, AI models, epidemiological modeling and stuff that we could actually do some good for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But there's like nobody's having these nuanced conversations like that we have, where
so
it's like,
hard now.
and I cannot live in a world where I'm not allowed to say what I think. Like, I can't imagine being one who to like censor myself because, like, oh, I got to speak the talking points of this campaign. Like,
Yeah.
I see how PETA, they are forced to like just say their talking points over and over again. And I was like, I couldn't
Well,
do that. I'd
I
want to
did
have
I
these
did
nuanced conversations.
I did media training at PETA, and there is a little bit of that. But honestly, when you do outreach and stuff, they're not so hardcore. They have a couple things that will, just like with Our Honor. If I were at an Our Honor event, I wouldn't call for the abolition. I would tailor my approach because of my audience, right? And the same thing goes with PETA. Like, my friend worked in TNR, trap, neuter, release for animals, cats, and PETA's position is they're against TNR, and so he just didn't bring it up, and it just isn't something that organically comes up anyway in the course of outreaching, people who are animal eaters. So it never came up in the 3 months we were on the road. So, I think you could actually, but I get what you mean. You make me. PETA's still very much into the First Amendment, obviously. They will even tell you in election year, in election years, you're not supposed to really talk about politics in the nonprofit world. Luckily, we're not in the election year right now, and so they send out a thing like it's your First Amendment right to say anything you want, but please let everybody know that you're not doing it on behalf of PETA, because this year we have to be careful. Every 4 years we got to be careful about this, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah, that's the thing. Like when you're working for a company or an organization, yeah, you
yeah.
have to do that. But like as yourself, like I know there are people who like work for the USDA or like and can't go online and say certain things, and I couldn't live like that. That's why I don't work for the USDA, I guess.
I lived
But
like that I've been vegan for 20 years, and I lived like that when I worked in hospitality. I would not talk about veganism online ever.
oh,
Never.
wow.
I
How
would never
sad.
talk about online. Yeah. Well, not as me for sure. I mean, I still would, but not as
Yeah,
me.
you have to create a
Yeah.
pseudonym and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it was always every time I worked, because I worked for major corporations, and they are like super sensitive about that stuff. My LinkedIn would never say anything about veganism or animal rights. So
And that's how they get you. That's how many
yeah.
people are in that position where they can't speak their mind because of who they work for.
Well, they make you sign a vague statement saying that you're going to tailor your social media presence based on their desires. Like, and they're watching. They will watch you, and I like it comes up. It's scary. I'm really nervous about freedom of speech in this country right now, and something that your statement, what you said, like I couldn't imagine just not being able to speak my mind.
Yeah.
I know
And
exactly
that's
what you mean. I'm terrified of it right now, Crystal.
yeah,
Your
and
drinking
it's
game. Take a shot. Sky's scared.
oh yeah, it's sky is scared drinking game. Yeah, I will just probably keep although there's a big thing that I haven't talked about, and someday I will talk about it,
Oh
but
yeah.
that day is not today. And
There's certain things that we just don't talk
there
about. That's the thing.
bugs the hell out of me that I haven't talked about this, and it gnaws at me at night that I haven't talked about this, and I'm learning how many people are being hurt because I haven't shared my story.
See, yeah.
So,
But since this is the Vets United section, I wanted we have a few more minutes left, and I kind of wanted to look at a couple of social media posts that I was working on that maybe we
yeah,
can just kind of like go through really quickly.
let's do
But
it.
before that, I also was like saying, man, when I think about veterinarians, because you're like, well, you don't, that's not the hour honor. Like when you're outreaching vets, it's a different conversation and stuff, and it totally is. Like when we were at VMX, I didn't really talk about veganism. I talked really about veganism with one person, really, because of the price of eggs, which I thought was one of my most rewarding interactions. There was that lady from Mississippi who was asking about egg replacements, and in a conversation about VSD plus, we started talking about eggs, we started talking about veganism, and it was such a cool conversation. She's like, bless your heart, I ain't going vegan, but I really appreciate it. She was so great.
Yeah.
She's a baker and all that. But I, like in my imagination, I just want to have every vet office with a poster that says something positive about not eating animals. I just wish
Yeah.
I wish that we had some kind of poster that we could send to vet. I would love that project. Like get a grant for
Design
that.
yeah, just talking about the harms, the need. My message is the need to switch to animal-free forms of food production and how important that is.
But do you know what that little so dumb, but you've seen it. Everyone's seen it. The little kitten hanging on the branch and it says "Hang in there, buddy" or something. And you used to see that at like every school would have that. Every principal's office would have it. Like that was just very popular. It was everywhere. That's what I want for us. Like
yes,
something where every vet office in America has something that's just.
I know, and we have the public trust, and if you
in the
go up
waiting
into a
room,
vet
right?
office with your dog who you care about and you see that coming from your vet, you'd be like, that would make so much more of a difference in your life than some animal activists saying
And no
that.
hard conversations
yeah.
unless they ask. but they could just hang it up in the waiting room that says something like, "Hey, rethink protein production." Something really
And
kind of
now they have
vague.
the videos playing. It's like, what could be a video that they could play that would
Or a slide that just
help?
comes between the videos. They have videos playing. I haven't been to a vet office in many years. There's one right by the Trader Joe's I go to. Maybe I should pop in and what would I do if I cold called them as an activist? What would I do?
Like, I would bring up like some campaign or something
Well,
like,
hi, I'm Sky Jack Morgan. Hi, my name's Sky, and I'm an animal rights activist. But don't let that scare you. I would love to talk to you about.
They're very busy too.
Oh.
So,
But they always have shit going on. Every once in a while on the weekends, they got like balloons and shit in front, and they're doing some like vet offices. They have little weird open house events or something going. It looks like an open house or something. Every once in a while, they got like balloons and people standing in front. I don't know. You tell me. You know more about
I
this
would
than
be
I
like,
do.
do you know about avian influenza? Here are some vets that are trying to address the avian influenza issue and the way that they're killing the animals. 2,000 veterinarians have signed on to Veterinarians Against Ventilation Shutdown. Will you, join them and share this with your veterinarian? Like, have a VSD flyer or something like that.
Oh, I
Or
like this. Just, hey,
or
guys, I know.
right now with the cat declaw ban, it's like, do you know about this bill?
Oh,
We could
cat
make a
declaw ban.
that would be a good one.
I like this idea, Crystal. I like this idea a lot.
Like,
I mean, I could just go and say I like both of these, but with back to VSD because declaw is a little obvi to me, but maybe not to them. But with VSD, maybe I can get, hey, you guys might be getting lots of questions about the price of eggs. Everyone's talking about it, but a lot of veterinarians don't know how to talk. Here's a couple talking points about what's actually happening to animals and something that you could speak to. And here's the AVMA
we could
position.
even make like a flyer that's like a why are eggs so expensive? And then it would be the usual, stupid article, but we would fit in the bailouts and VSD and all of that instead of the usual talking points.
Totally, but it's got to be pithy. It can't be a book. It's got to be like a postcard. It's got to be like borderline bumper sticker, like something that a vet tech could read in the 30 seconds that she has between clients and go like, oh, I learned.
What if they're like a stack of flyers that they could pass out to their clients too, like have it there in the waiting room that people
Hey,
could grab.
Here's some
I like
info for
that.
your clients about the price of eggs and some veterinary peer-reviewed, I don't know, research that we found. I don't know, some shit like this is from the USDA. This is like, I don't know. I think this could be totally doable.
Yeah.
I love it. I like this idea. We should develop this. Wait, Crystal left me. Crystal just disappeared and I'm by myself now, but I hope everyone agrees that that was a good idea. I'm sure she'll be right back. This is stuff happens. This is live TV. This is all there is. Yeah. I'd never work a job or a career. There she is. I told you she'd be back.
It just booted me out for some reason, but here I am.
Okay, so we got one person thinks it's a great idea. Steven thinks they should play Dominion. No, I don't think they should play Dominion. I don't think Dominion is a good idea to be playing that in a vet's office. But I can't believe most vets have not seen Dominion. That actually kind of shocks me. But
I tried watching a second of it and I'm like, why am I watching this?
Yeah, but you're watching it as a vegan. Like, that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be for non-vegans to watch it, right? Like,
I don't know. Does that change people's minds? Does that do it?
I've talked to so many people that tell me that that's why they stopped eating animals. So many people have seen that and been like, but I've also, you know what though, Crystal, I've met just as many people who told me they went vegan because they read Skinny Bitch. So, there's all sorts of reasons to stop eating animals, right?
Interesting.
Have you ever heard about that book? Was huge, like in the 90s, the Skinny Bitch book. Remember that book?
I don't know this book. Somebody else was telling me about it. It's not on my radar.
Oh, it's amazing. I read the first chapter because it was it was a phenome. It was a huge deal back in the day. But the first chapter is like, and I think I was already vegetarian at the time, and people were talking about it with me. And the first chapter is like, well, you can't be skinny if you eat like shit. And it talks like that tone. I think that might even be the first line. Like, you can't be skinny if you eat like shit. We're going to tell you to stop eating shit. And it's like in that tone, the whole book.
Wow.
And it resonated with a lot of people. And I've spoken with many people, all women, but many who stopped eating animals because of it. So you don't have to watch Dominion. You can read a book about getting skinny.
Yeah. It's
So
so interesting. When I left and then I came back, like
Yeah.
I see no Twitter viewers now.
You have 80 Twitter viewers, or 60. You have 70 Twitter viewers right now.
Interesting. My eye is not reading my Twitter viewers for some reason, but whatever.
Who knows? Okay, so let me just, here's our, so before we look at the visual, maybe I'll just look at this. The first one you can probably guess is about the turkeys. Novel legal procedure. This is something we were just talking about. This is believed to be the first instance in which a court is specifically asked to decide whether VSD Plus violates state animal protection laws. Less cruel methods of mass killing exist, and Jennie-O Turkey Store had the resources to plan for infectious disease outbreaks and put plans in place to use less cruel methods, but they failed to do so. That blurb is what we used during the
but totally fine. Yeah.
Do you think we need hashtags?
Yes.
What do you think? Vet school.
Animal cruelty is a good one. Like One Health, avian flu. It's an H5N1 story. H5N1.
Great.
Vet med. Veterinarian.
Okay.
What else?
What do all the what do all the farmer like the people who are doing it the right way? What do they like homesteader, hashtag homesteader?
Yeah, there's people. Like farm to fork and all of those.
Maybe
things.
They should see this, maybe those people
hashtag farm to fork, hashtag farm to table.
Farm to fork. Yes, I like that. It's like little let's get them farm to table.
We should tag ALDF and Animal Partisan in there too. I really want to make a video about this too. So I'd love to like make a video and then collaborate with them.
Animal Partisan. I'm gonna put up here tag. I'm going to put up here an alt tag. So tag Animal Partisan and ALDF and collab Skyjack Morgan. That works, right?
Yeah. And she can collab me too.
And Dr. Crystal Heath. And cool. All right. So anybody who's just, let's just look at the image just because we are here. Let's see if we can back into Canva. It looks like this. I made this a couple days ago, but it's the same image that we used. We're cool to use that as a.
I feel like you should put the Our Honor logo on there too.
Oh yeah, maybe down here by the. I can do that. And if anybody, everyone's
put the ALDF's logo on there too.
ALDF logo. Let me see if I can grab that from another. I'll use this one, and we'll just dump that in the corner.
Maybe make it a little smaller. There you go.
Yeah.
Or we can line up all the logos at the top.
Our logo isn't going to line up with these horizontal logos unless we just grab that.
One on either side.
Well, we could just do this too.
Yeah, we could.
But this is not going to work. Hold on a second. We're going to replace this one. Yeah, we're kind of lose our logo a little bit. Maybe we can, but here I can make this a little bit. There's more than one way to What's the vegan version of skin a cat? That would is there another? There's more than one way to
Peel a mango, cut a
more than one
pineapple.
way to peel a mango. I like it. There's more than one way to
I'd
peel a
make the Our Honor
mango.
logo a little bit bigger.
Yeah, that's what I'm
still
working
not
on. I'm
okay.
trying to make them all a little bit bigger. Just gotta move some stuff around. And then we're gonna do the ALDF logo. We don't have that one readily available, but I'm about to. It's this one, right?
No, it's
Animal
like,
League Defense.
yeah, it is.
I like this
you
guy
could
right
search
here.
our Canva uploads for ALDF because I know we've used their logo before.
This is just as fast. It's
yeah.
going to be a little bit faster to do it this way. And then look at that. Get a little...
Is there a logo variation that isn't so dark? For ALDF doesn't have any white behind it.
I can let me see if I can fix something up for you.
We could also just change it from black to like a gray or something that
I can also kind of make it brighter.
No, that's you lost their whole thing, their whole vibe.
Their whole vibe, which is dark.
There, that's
this one.
Yeah, that's better. It looks more like them.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, cool.
Can you just make sure those where are the lines? I like adjust it so that all the lines line up. There's little pink lines that should
yeah, you don't see them.
I don't. Oh, maybe it's just not showing. Oh, there's one. Okay.
Yeah, I always use the guides.
All right.
But you see, it's not exact. It doesn't really quite work because this logo has a bounding box, which is not going to be as friendly with the guides. So we have to kind of fudge it a little bit, which is okay. So kind of there we go. The P is also kind of obnoxiously kind of encroaching, but
we could, since the ALDF logo is so muted compared to the AP and the Our Honor, put the Our Honor logo where the ALDF logo is and put ALDF in the center. And that will make it like more balanced color-wise.
Well, maybe we put the AP in the center because it's their friggin' article. And then we put the colorful ones.
Well, ALDF also did this article and we're just grabbing like content from it. But yeah, I don't know. I'd put ALDF in the center just because you have like the brighter logos on each side and then the darker logo in the center. Adds balance.
Here we go.
And now it's fully, you need to lower that, move it over. That's definitely not centered.
When you say it.
The ALDF logo is definitely not centered.
The LDF is the only one that's centered. Okay.
I feel like Our Honor is not.
I actually think we should just bring them all. Let's bring them all together so they're all. That looks better.
Yeah. Okay.
That looks way better. Just bring them all together, and they all look like we're in collaboration.
All right. Cool.
Okay. Cool. And then back over here, we've got the second one. Is T-shirts in New York. Dr. Crystal Heath will be speaking at Long Island University on April 15th and at Cornell University on April 17th. Would you consider helping us buy T-shirts to distribute to veterinary students? Our Honor/donate.
It's not all veterinary students though.
But so that's who we want to give them to.
Students. Just say students because like the Long Island one is like a tech program.
Brevity is the soul of wit. I love it. Anytime we cut, I'm happy. Distribute to students, ourhonors.org/donate. And if you're in New York those dates, drop us a line. We'd love to meet up in person. info@ourhonor.org.
Cool. Looks good.
Easy peasy. And then here is the Canva one for that. And it looks like this. April 15th, LIU. April 17th, Cornell. Look at these three lovely ladies. Erin's in the chat. There she is right there. Larea sometimes goes live with us. And so this one is we're on our way to New York. Campuses in April. Help fund T-shirts. This is actually not where it's supposed to be. Good thing. Okay. Campuses in April. Help fund T-shirts for veterinary students we meet.
Cool.
And then your contribution will directly empower veterinary students. Ourhonor.org/donate. And that's the post.
Nice.
Coolio. And then back over at here. So we got that one and the last one. Oh, where's the last one? I had 3. Dang it. All right. Well, I guess it's just 2. I had 3 in here a second ago. Hold on a second. Let me go back to my. Did I forget to? I put 3 in the signal chat. That's a problem. Pete Hegseth messed with my signal chat. I put 3 links in the signal chat. What in the heck? I must be tripping. I don't know what I'm thinking. Oh, you know what? It's because of All Things Considered. I wanted to do All Beings Considered. Check out our podcast and stuff. It's going to be a podcast one. That's why. Okay. Sorry. But I have it in I had to do it in Adobe because Canva could not handle the font search. Like with Adobe, you can like search fonts and it'll tell you which ones are closest to that. So I was able to it took forever to recreate that logo, believe it or not. 3 simple fonts.
Yeah. Wow.
3 fonts, but it was a fun trip.
Cool. Well, thanks for doing that.
That's
good. Hopefully, maybe we'll get sued. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, they're not exactly the fonts, so impossible. You see, so they're very close fonts, but not the fonts that are there. So
okay.
I don't think we're suable on this. I don't think we have any exposure.
Nice.
So all beings considered. Yeah, the guy who founded Arthur's Acres Sanctuary had a printing business. Todd Friedman might be able to help you get items printed nicely, efficiently. Yeah, there's also vegan printers in LA who puts on Veg Fest. They're really great.
Okay. Well, yeah, if you want to get prices for me and compare.
Yeah, see if they can do t-shirt. They do everything. So yeah, and great t-shirts too. Vegan printers, they do. Maybe they could be a great person to do the posters.
Yeah.
I think it's a husband-wife team, and I'm 90% sure that the wife is speaking at AVA this year.
Okay.
Yes, maybe we'll go to her talk. Cool. I also want to plug to everybody, if you're going to WonderCon in Anaheim, we are going to screen Kindness Town at WonderCon in Anaheim on this Saturday. Yeah, I think at 2 or 3 o'clock. So if you're anywhere in Anaheim, you want to go to a cool event, WonderCon, it's like a comic book fandom thing, but they're gonna and it's an anti bird feather thing, stop using feathers for decorations. And it's a really cool thing that they're doing. They're gonna screen it there. I'm really happy about that. I can't wait.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Kirsten Maryland's gonna be flying out here on the weekend to go check it out because she's one of the voices, and I'm hoping maybe activist in New York. She's coming out here to check it out. Yeah. Writers. This is the Writers Hour.
Writers Hour. We encroached in. So let's look at what are we doing here?
We're looking at the op-eds that have been rejected.
Let's put up the first one here, and we're going to workshop these and hopefully make them better.
Yeah. Since we're talking about writing, we're hopefully going to get John Sonbonmatsu onto our show here pretty soon, and I'm really excited about that. We're going to be hanging out with him on a Sunday, right? Is it this Sunday that we're going to see him?
No, he's out of town this Sunday, but next Sunday.
Yeah, so writer John oh wait, sorry, you just hold on a second for me. Crystal, you're going too fast for me. Hold on a second. John Matsu. He has written all of these
Oh, sorry.
books.
I didn't
That's a-
realize you were pulling him up.
yeah, sorry, I had this waiting in the
Okay.
wings. But he's a writer of The Postmodern Prince and The Critical Theory in Animal Liberation, and I can't wait to meet him. I think he's a really eloquent speaker on these things, and since we were going to talk about writing, I thought I'd just bring up that we're going to talk to a writer in a week or two's time.
Yeah.
And yeah, cool.
Cool. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're looking up. This is a piece of writing that was rejected. Veterinarians and the Hidden Cost of Eggs. So it reads, let's see if we can figure out anything to make this better.
This one kind of bummed me out because it was this the one? This was the San Francisco Chronicle that rejected us.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
whatever. If you drive through Wasco, California, you'll encounter a strange sight. Let's see. Start with like, how many words is this? Let me just.
Maybe, yeah.
Oops, sorry. Hold on.
That's the address of her practice, so I think we're okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Tools, word count, 639. It's a little short for SF Chronicle, but all right. If you drive through Wasco, California, you'll encounter a strange sight. Multiple 3-story buildings in the middle of nowhere. This immense facility is Central Valley Eggs, where they exterminated more than 2 million birds last November in response to avian influenza. The workers there notice when you drive up for a closer look. Look, they don't get many visitors out there. Californians have noticed the skyrocketing price of eggs and empty grocery store shelves.
Hey, that's something we can change right there. Do you mind if we just edit while you're reading? Because we
Yeah.
can have noticed skyrocketing egg prices.
Yeah.
I like hearing someone else read it because it's like, if you stumble on it, then the reader's going to stumble on it. Californians have noticed, because you were naturally going to say egg prices. Californians have noticed skyrocketing egg prices
and empty grocery store shelves, a result of this unprecedented outbreak. Now that half of the state's egg-laying flocks are dead and 748 cow herds is that the current number in California? Let me check, because I'm just pedantic about this. Let's see. I know I shared. So we have 756 now.
Oh, your pedantry knows no bounds. But
and I'll link to this.
Our link is going to Helen Bronswell.
Yeah, I'm going to change that to this updated link.
Will California realize, for anybody, since we didn't really segue into this segment, for anyone knowing what we're doing, we're writing an op-ed for to put the message out into the press. Every week we have these writers workshops where we're trying to hone our skills, but also develop artifacts that might be worthy of being shared to the masses. It's one of the greatest ways to get the message out there.
And 756 cow herds are infected. Will California realize how our reliance on animal-based protein imperils our health and economy? I feel like we could do better here. I'm just gonna say make this better.
Will California realize how our reliance on animal-based protein imperils our health and economy?
Now that taxpayers have already funneled billions of dollars into bailouts for industrial scale animal agriculture.
Why don't we change this to we've all noticed skyrocketing egg prices and empty store sales as a result of the unprecedented outbreak, but then we can just do right here. When will we?
Yeah.
Now that, because it's like now that. See, I don't think there's now that.
I don't know if that when adds anything to this.
But if I take out now that, will we?
How about if we just take out the now that, and then half of the state's egg-laying flocks are dead. 756 cow herds are infected. Period. when will California
Yeah,
realize?
that's what I was thinking. Yeah, totally on the same page. When will California realize? When will we? No one says California realize. The only time we only did that before we have all this California because it was during the time when Gavin Newsom declared California in a state of emergency. These are these are vestiges of that. When will we realize our reliance on animal-based protein imperils our health and economy?
Yeah.
I like it.
Taxpayers have already funneled billions of dollars into bailouts for industrial scale animal agriculture. California's top bailout recipients include Gepperly Brothers, Pittman Family Farms, and Foster Farms. These payments are made under the USDA's Livestock Indemnity Program, which compensates producers for exterminating animals exposed to avian influenza.
So this is passive voice. So we can say the USDA's Livestock Indemnity Program makes these payments, which
compensates producers for exterminating animals. So I'd say the USDA Livestock Indemnity Program compensates producers for exterminating animals exposed to avian influenza. And we need a source for that.
It's right here. The recipients, taxpayers have spent.
But we should link to the Livestock Indemnity Program page, which I will do right now.
Taxpayers are bankrolling a system that endangers public health, but it's worse for the animals.
The most common method of mass extermination, also known as depopulation, is ventilation shutdown plus. This method seals off airflow and raises temperature, slowly killing birds en masse via heat stroke.
What if we say it's far worse for the animals? So it doesn't seem so, but it's worse for the animals.
Does that add another little cadence? Yeah, maybe sounds better.
I think it sounds somehow it sounds less preachy, I guess, but it's worse for the animals. Like it just sounds, that endangers public health, but it's far worse for the animals. The most common method, I don't know.
What is it? It's far worse for the animals.
A system.
Taxpayers are bailing that, but
dangers the public health, but it's far worse than I guess we could say something. Taxpayers are bankrolling a system rife with
bankrolling a callous system that
that's also cruel to animals,
endangers public health. And
I don't think we've earned this public health thing, because we haven't talked about public health at all right here. This is nothing about his public health,
because we haven't talked about
public health at all.
That endangers food security, we could say, because we've talked about how half the state's egg-laying flocks are dead and all the cows infected. So we could talk about food security, but we have enough space to add words about public health.
Totally, but we're going to have to do that, which doesn't happen until here. The public health is right here.
Yeah.
But taxpayers, and we're talking about here is saving the planet for the market for sustainable meat alternatives. Hold on, what is this reference here? We use the. I don't know why I can't share this on my screen. But it's a UC Berkeley study on it's a technology report. Meat production will be unsustainable by 2050 at current and projected rates of consumption due to high resource intensity. On the health implications. Market of meat. Why can't I share this?
Taxpayers are bankrolling a callous system that devises
Taxpayers are bankrolling a callous system.
production methods.
It's not just that it's callous, it's that it is impacting us in negative ways, right? Because the study that's being linked right there, taxpayers are bankrolling a callous system. It's actually a system that is endangering us, but high impact. It's high effect. It's very, I don't know, I'm looking for a word that's not callous. Taxpayers, but far worse is the higher suffering of the animals experience. Hope you guys read the first sheep infection in UK. Yeah, the first sheep infection in the UK. We've got now cross species, trans species infections in the UK. Crazy, right?
Insensitive, heartless, unfeeling, cold-hearted, indifferent, apathetic, hard-hearted, cruel, unsympathetic, detached.
It can't be callous.
It's brutal, and
it's not that it's callous and brutal. It's that it's harming us. Like, that's the thing about the taxpayers are bankrolling a system, but the system isn't defined by its callousness. It's defined by its
harmful system. Should we just say harmful? System that incentivizes production methods.
Harmful, expensive. Yeah, I mean, the fact that it's expensive and it's killing us and the environment. How do you say that? A harmful system that is incentivizing production methods, facilitate virus. Ugh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Incentivizing. But this has to be a segue for the next thing, which is mass extermination. So it's a harmful system.
Taxpayer dollars are propping up a dangerous system, one that fuels disease outbreaks, jeopardizes food security, and subjects animals to immense suffering. I hate
That's good. Just throw that in there. That's from ChatGPT. It sounds like. Is that ChatGPT? Throw it in there. Let's wordsmith it. That was good.
Animals to
dangerous system, one that fuels disease outbreaks, jeopardizes food security, and subjects animals to immense suffering. Nice.
But what if I just hate to resort to the immense suffering, because even if it was humane, it would still be wrong.
Right, but we're going to talk about depopulation next.
And okay, so it's a segue. All right.
That's all this is doing is it's closing this off by saying, see, this whole thing. So the whole reason I put this in here was because I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to put this as the link.
Probably. Are you doing the link? I'm doing the link.
Yeah. Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah.
Then.
All right.
Cool. Then I'll just delete this real quick. Like the reason why. Oh, did you just delete it? What are you doing?
I didn't. What did I do? I didn't do anything. You did it.
Something just happened. All right, cool. The reason why this is in here, taxpayer dollars are propping up, is because it closes off the fact that it's expensive and dangerous, and then it starts the fact that it's ventilation shutdown.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, of mass extermination, also known as depopulation, is ventilation shutdown. This method seals off airflow and raises temperatures, slowly killing birds en masse via heat stroke. How about just slowly inducing heat stroke, or slowly killing birds en masse? I don't know. You ever read that? There's this amazing piece that George Orwell wrote about how never use a Latinate or foreign word when a perfectly good Saxon word exists.
Yeah. What's a
Yeah,
good Saxon word for
a good
this?
stuff for en masse, en masse. Like it just,
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind using it in spoken language. When I read it, I feel like, oh, they could have used something else. Like,
Mhm.
because we're talking about mass extermination. Like those are, although extermination is a Latinate. I mean, this is all Latinate right here, right? Extermination, depopulation, ventilation. This method seals off airflow and raises the temperature, slowly killing
Collectively,
entire flocks.
simultaneously, in droves, in bulk, in
Can we say,
unison.
how about entire flocks? Because that's what it is.
Yeah, entire flocks. Okay. Yeah, I like it.
So, with heat stroke.
Mhm.
A recent survey found that only 1.1% of veterinarians consider VSD plus to be ethical. We don't say to be; they consider it ethical.
Yeah.
Consider VSD plus ethical, yet the largest
Ethical
veterinary.
and humane, I should clarify, because there's
You want to do
a
slash
larger
humane?
and humane, because that's the.
Okay.
Sorry, I added it. There.
No, you're
There you
good.
go.
Yet the largest, you got to a comma before yet. There you go. The largest veterinary organization continues to sanction it. Over 2,000 veterinarians have joined Veterinarians Against Ventilation Shutdown. It's a mouthful too. Urging the organization to, oh, we took out AVMA, right? Because she didn't want to.
Yeah.
Okay. Urging the organization to reclassify this practice, but their draft guidelines will allow the the use of.
VSD to kill
Oh
birds
man,
and
no
pigs.
wonder. Like this whole thing is like,
I think it's fine, personally.
it's
I
gobbledygook.
Is it?
I don't know. It's a
Yeah.
lot, man. Maybe it needs to be 2 paragraphs or something. Like, how about this? Consider VSD and get the largest veterinary considers to sanction area. There, that's it right there. Boom. Over 2,000 veterinarians have joined ventilation shutdown against. Have joined Veterinarians Against Ventilation Shutdown, urging the organization. How much is urging the reclassification of this practice?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Reclassification of this practice. But their draft guidelines still allow the use of VSD plus to kill birds and pigs.
Yep.
And maybe we say the draft guidelines because we have referenced the largest thing already, and we're also linking it. So hopefully it's clear to anyone who gives a hell. Photos taken on December 9th, 2024 and February 26th, 2025 at Central Valley Eggs in Wasco reveal workers cleaning facilities without proper personal protective equipment, PPE. Despite clear evidence of this virus's persistence on surfaces for up to 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
I don't know.
It's should be 120 days because this Central
On
Valley
duck
egg
feathers, though, right?
depopulation was done much more than 2 weeks ago. So if it was just 2 weeks, we wouldn't care.
Yeah.
It was for.
Just put on surfaces, persistence on surfaces.
Let me look for the exact.
It's like 120 days, right?
In the source. Yeah, I totally believe it's 120 days, but let me look at it, the source. I don't. How did we come up with 2 weeks? Where did that come from? That's definitely not right.
I think it's different too that the surface, what kind of surface it is, right? Photos taken on December 9th, 2024. We need a segue here too. This is too we're talking about killing birds and pigs, and then we're like photos taken, PPE. Like now we're talking about PPE. And that ain't no good. Oh, here's how we do it. After a facility is depopulated, another the public health.
The Department
The
of
danger to public
Homeland
health.
Security report says influenza viruses may remain viable on surfaces for up to 2 weeks. I would really highlight that HPA viruses are relatively stable in duck feathers, maintaining infectivity for up to 160 days in experimental trials. Like I would really try to hammer that home. I would say something like, let me change.
I think we do it in the segue though. We don't do it in here. We could take this out. So we could put right here, like for example, let's here if I delete this, and then up here after the word over, you can say you can put your or I could put the virus.
And we added the duck feathers thing down here in the this
perfect.
paragraph. So it's
Let me take that. Let me take that. Don't.
Oops,
Let me
hold on.
drive.
Wait.
Let
Hold
me
on.
drive
I'm
for a
gonna
second.
undo. I accidentally made a thing. There we go. All right, go for it.
Check this out. After a facility is depopulated, the danger to public health is far from over. Avian influenza is highly stable in the environment and can remain infectious on duck feathers for up to 160 days. Why don't we just say feathers? According to the Department of Homeland Security report. That's fine. Photos taken on at Central Valley Eggs in Wasco reveal workers cleaning facilities without proper protective equipment. One worker is seen without a mask while another wears one improperly, exposing his nose. Are these workers being provided adequate training, or are they being sacrificed on the altar of profit? I really like that line.
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty good. I think that was a really good edit, Crystal.
Yeah, that's good. We made good progress there.
Photos and video from Wasco Dairy shows photos and videos from Wasco Dairy show cows with nasal discharge swarmed by European starlings, potential carriers of the avian flu. So here's another no segue at all. We have to say it's in the cows too, or that. That we already did, didn't we? We said that all these 756 cow herds up here.
Do we have to
No, you're right.
in our short little
remember? No, you're right. I'm just in the shit. I just got my nose down.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. So photos and video.
But which is right across the street. Right across the street from this facility.
Just put that in there. Yeah, type it.
Yeah.
Across the street. Then we just don't. We don't need
Central
the word.
Valley Eggs?
Yeah, sure. I like the. Then we don't need from a Wasco. We could say from a dairy.
The dairy. The dairy across the street.
How about we say right across the street from eggs is a dairy. Yes, exactly. Exactly what I was thinking. And then just capital P. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. And then we get rid of this comma here. And video from a dairy. And then we get that photos and video.
Why can't I make this work?
I can do it.
Okay, edit link. Hold on, I got it.
Oh, you do it the hard way.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Shows cows with
Struggle.
nasal discharge swarmed. Shows cows with nasal discharge. I would love to call them mama cows with nasal discharge swarmed by European starlings.
And
How
here's
about we
actually
shows
one thing that keeps bothering me is, do we know that H5N1 causes nasal discharge in dairy cows? I know it seems obvious, but I don't know if that's we know this facility probably has avian influenza infected cows,
Mm-hmm.
but the reported symptoms are like loss of milk production, lethargy. Do they ever report nasal discharge as a thing? Let me just Google around a little bit.
We could just say flu-like symptoms like they always
Mhm.
do. That's what everybody does. Photos and video show swarming European starlings. Potential carriers of avian flu.
So yeah, just ChatGPT. Some cows have shown respiratory signs like nasal discharge, coughing, or labored breathing, but these are less common and not always present. And they can overlap with other respiratory diseases in cattle. So that's
show European starlings.
lethargy is a thing. So like we could really highlight lethargic looking cows.
Swarming lethargic cows. I love it.
Yeah.
How about just phlegmatic cows? Then you have both in there.
Phlegmatic
cows. Phlegmatic generally means lethargic, but the etymology of the word actually has to do with phlegm. Yeah. What do you think?
It means someone who's calm, unemotional, and not easily excited or upset. Basically cool under pressure.
Lethargic. All right. Lethargy sounds better.
Yeah. More medical term.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, the phlegm.
Yeah, phlegmatic because the humors, your woe and your bile, or like because it's so in Severance, it totally is like a.
God, we got to do a Severance op-ed.
Yeah,
next.
you do. Yeah.
Soon.
Potential carrier. We need to just brainstorm it and write it, like, because it takes a little bit. That'll take a little doing. Potential carriers of avian flu swarming lethargic cows with nasal discharge. You don't want nasal discharge in there?
No, I think we want to normalize the fact that nasal discharge is associated with avian flu. So I think leave it in there, but I'm just
dogs.
Part of me is like just worried because I've talked to journalists and I bring up my cows with nasal discharge and I'm wondering, do they then go to like the industry people who say like she's ridiculous, like she's not under, like nasal discharge isn't like the defining symptom of avian flu. But also abortions was something that we should have been talking about more that I was seeing, and so I don't want to keep sweeping under the rug nasal discharge, but I also recognize that the industry might try to dismiss me for bringing up the nasal discharge thing.
Unsustainable. Anyway. That's good too. Yeah, I mean, I think that'd be great. I'm looking at the chat. We have Rayapan's here. That's awesome. My mom is a copywriter. I could ask her someday. She'd help me write a piece of writing like this. She's vegetarian though. Well, have her help you write it. Maybe we can workshop it here. That was the whole point of doing this. And you can submit it and we can workshop it together and we can work on it. Temperature and humidity in respect to VSD plus. Ventilation shutdown increases temperature and humidity. I think the humidex index creates the problem. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I know they add steam, right?
It was interesting in the beginning with bird flu and the poultry birds. They weren't adding steam. They were just adding heat to the poultry facilities. They did add steam to the pigs. The problem with it's a little bit difficult to add steam because you got to do it in such a way that you don't splatter hot water that causes burning. and welfare concerns. But now I think they've started to do more steam because they can kill the birds with a lower temperature, and that doesn't hurt the PVC pipes in the barn, because we're very worried about the welfare of the PVC pipes in the barn. I just want to emphasize that.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about these PVC pipes being like, we don't want to mess with these PVC pipes.
These
They're so
poor
important.
PVC pipes. It would be
Mhm.
so devastating if they were harmed.
What would we do if we hurt the PVC pipes?
Yeah.
Forget
But
about
anyway,
the million
now
chickens.
steam is being used.
Yeah.
But there's also
Yeah.
a problem of like getting enough water for these facilities, and a lot of people resorted to using ventilation shutdown because they wanted to conserve water.
Oh.
So I don't know how much water is used in the steam production stuff. So I don't know how frequently steam is being used in ventilation shutdown. In short, in poultry, we do know it was used in pigs though. So,
Interesting. Okay. Love it. Lethargic cows
where
and
are we?
nasal discharge. Cats, dogs, and other animals roam freely nearby, each vulnerable to infection. Bird flu has an 89.6% mortality rate, and felines and companion cats have already succumbed to avian flu.
Have already succumbed to the infection. Because we say avian flu, bird flu here. Avian flu. It's
the
two
infection.
flus in one sentence.
Companion cats. Such a
have already
euphemism
succumbed.
For cats.
Do we need to have the already in there?
Reportedly succumbed. Yeah. Have succumbed.
Have succumbed to the infection.
Yeah. Are you editing it? Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I'm editing. I didn't know if you were, but
I was waiting on. When you highlight, I stop.
Okay,
driving.
all right.
Yeah. With so many species affected, avian influenza is not only a danger to animals; it's a ticking time bomb for a global health crisis.
Time bomb for a global health crisis. Ticking time bomb.
I don't like this whole sentence. Yeah. With so many species affected, avian influenza. I just think, why can't we just say we're witnessing the fall of an unsustainable system, and I think that's enough. Like, we're witnessing the breakdown of
With its growing reach across species, avian influenza poses a mounting threat, not just to animals, but to global health.
Yeah, I like it. Let's go ChatGPT.
It's a looming global health crisis. How about that?
Yeah,
as avian influenza
global health crisis
spreads across species, the risk extends far. I don't like far beyond. I like it's not.
Why don't you paste it in here so we can see it? And then we can.
See here.
I can't see what you see.
Hold on. I like looming.
I like it too.
Looming global health crisis.
With its growing reach across species, avian influenza poses a mounting threat and a mounting threat. A looming global health crisis. Or do this here. Hold on a second. How about just this? Watch this. If you're going to have an M dash, you want to have some mounting threat, a looming global health crisis.
Avian influenza cross-species spread is accelerating. Global public health time bomb. You can save that for the end. Let's keep going. I think we got it.
Growing awareness of the avian flu sparks conversations about the human health risks, animal cruelty, and food insecurity exacerbate. What the fuck? Growing
sparse conversation about animal cruelty and food insecurity. Exact.
Growing awareness and
Dependence on animal protein. Yeah, what are we doing here?
sparks conversations about the human health risks, animal cruelty, and food insecurity exacerbated by increasing dependence on animal protein.
Yeah. According to at least.
Can you zoom the doc to 125% for fellow viewers and my ancient eyes? Yeah, there you go. Nice. That's readable. Thanks, Neil Thompson.
About
growing awareness of the avian. No, this sucks. This should spark. We don't have growing awareness.
Yeah.
This should spark debates.
Instead of talking about the cost of eggs, should we bring it back to that?
Yes. Rather.
Instead. Oh, okay. Rather.
Okay. And instead of lamenting
yes.
the price of eggs, why not a debate? Why not debates about human health risks, animal cruelty, and food insecurity exacerbated by increasing dependence on animal protein?
By our increasing dependence on animal protein?
By a foolish dependence on animal protein.
Our foolish, is there a better word for foolish?
Well,
naive. I love naive.
Naive? a benighted dependence.
I don't know about benighted.
I
like naive because we're all naive and misled by corporate propaganda.
But naive makes it sound like it's innocent. I want to like it's.
Yeah.
Where's a thesaurus when you need one? Do you where's my thesaurus? I think that I could do. Hold on. Let's see if there's a good. My first instinct was benighted. Let's see if there's a decent word for that might be. Any thesaurus? Thesaurus? Can you do a thesaurus here?
Unsuspecting dependence or
ignorant, unenlightened, uneducated, unschooled, untutored, illiterate. I like this. An illiterate dependence on animal protein. Unscholarly, uninformed, uncouth, uncivilized. Uncivilized is great. Barbaric.
Yeah.
Crude, coarse, rough, vulgar, gross. Yobbish.
Callous dependence. I love callous. I just want to keep putting
callous dependence on animal. Do it. Callous is better than naive.
Yeah. Okay.
You like those like another.
I like to make everybody seem innocent.
Yes. An unenlightened dependence on animal protein then. Callous dependence. I like callous dependent. Okay. Yeah.
By our callous dependence on animal protein.
How about what if you use something like turbid? Doesn't turbid mean like cloudy and stupid too? Turbid, yeah. Cloudy, opaque, thick, muddy.
Why not?
I like callous. That's fine. Callous dependence on
why
animal
not
protein.
Debates about what is it? We should be
debating,
discussing the exacerbate by our callous. How is that?
Yeah, I don't mind discussing. I thought debating's a little bit more like because we want some energetic discussion. Like, what do we get since we're thesaurusing? We should be debating, conferring, conversing, deliberating, chewing over. I
love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's kind of the one chewing over the human health risks. Animal cruelty and food insecurity exacerbate our calcium. I like it. Subsidize. All right. According to UC Berkeley study, taxpayers spend $38 billion annually subsidizing the animal-based protein industry. Imagine the innovation and progress we could achieve if even a fraction of that funding were redirected toward animal-free protein technologies. In fact, why don't we just say safer protein? All right, animal-free is good. In fact, recent research shows that by supporting animal-free methods of food production, we could save $7.3 trillion in health burdens and ecosystem degradation. This is a watershed moment for California. We can continue propping up an unsustainable exploitative system, or we can invest in a future that prioritizes public health, environmental sustainability, and ethical responsibility to animals and to vulnerable workers. We don't say and to, just
yeah, you can delete that.
Vulnerable workers. Let's not just clean up the mess. Let's build a better food system, one that puts what puts people above the corporations that currently profit from our collective peril. Okay, I like it. We can seize the opportunity to do better before the next outbreak claims more like, we don't have to have a comma there. Before the next outbreak claims more lives and further entrenches us in the destructive cycle. If we don't alter course, we'll be forced to face the consequences of our inaction. And that's something
we shouldn't have
to stomach.
I think it's great. I think we made really good progress on this.
I think so too.
I think we've got how many words here? Should we bring up
hit Command Shift C?
Okay, what?
Just hit Command Shift C.
Command, I don't have a shift. Command Shift, what is it, C?
C.
Oh, 684, okay.
And that's including her address and stuff, so, and the title.
Yeah, that's what I like, okay. What should we bring up, since there's a lot of discussion about RFK saying to like let it rip, let it burn, commenting on that, or maybe not, as good as it is.
I mean, that sounds like a whole other op-ed if we want to take on RFK
Well, I
Jr.
feel like we could just latch it on to this, but I feel like we've tightened this up enough.
How about Washington Post? Let's send it to the Washington Post.
661. Washington Post. It's a risk and a delay. LA Times again, or
we can do LA Times. I wanted to just do the LA Times one to San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Chronicle to the LA Times, and Mercury somewhere in there. I guess let's do LA Times.
We could do Newsweek too.
Yeah.
I feel like Newsweek might be a good one. Let me look at their.
I used to love Newsweek. Jeffrey Phillips is debating the lady that made bone broth popular tomorrow morning. Jeffrey, when and where are you debating her? I'd love to know what that meant.
I don't want
bone broth. So gross.
Where's my media spreadsheet? Let's see here. Let me look at the word count.
What are you doing?
I'm looking up where we should send this to and what the word count of Newsweek is usually. There's also Modern Farmer, good old Modern Farmer. 600,000 words, op-eds at newsweek.com.
You want to do Newsweek? Yeah. Not LA Times?
Honestly, well, LA Times has been talking about bird flu a lot. They might do it, but I know they're tough. And they're paywalled.
You're right, they are paywalled.
So
Newsweek isn't?
No.
Amazing. Okay, Newsweek it is.
in a way, like LA Times isn't paywalled because they usually always republish in Yahoo News.
Can I tell
And
you, Newsweek, I used to read the op-eds at Newsweek every week.
oh, really?
Every week. I was religious about it. I thought when 9/11 happened, one of my favorite things that I loved. So I was teaching English in Germany when 9/11 happened.
Oh, wow.
And I used to read the op-eds with my students, my advanced students, because it was like, again, like 600 to 1,000 words. It's a perfect amount of words for like a foreign, a non-native English speaker to read. And they were really good because they always had like some mixture of kind of local slang or stuff and just kind of some Americanisms that you could teach and have teaching moments with. Anyway, on September 4th, I think it was Rudy Gestapo Giuliani, and all this horrible story about a guy who goes to jail on some petty crime, like he left his apartment with a beer at a party and he got a ticket, and then years later Giuliani has had this new thing where they're going to juke the stats and have old crimes get punished, and he was going to go to jail and stuff, and he got arrested. And he told the story about Rudy Gestapo Giuliani. And then the next week was 2001, September 11th, and it was a story about the heroism of Rudolph Giuliani. And I used to teach one op-ed and then the next to show how different one perspective of one man, different perspectives of one man can be just in a week's difference. And it was a really cool way to talk about 9/11 and talk about New York, and like it was cool. It had his honor in there as a word. That's what they call the mayor of New York, his honor, but it was Hizzonor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and people are like, well, I don't understand, why would they, these German bankers that I was teaching, they'd be like, I don't understand his honor. It doesn't make any sense. I'm like, yeah, it was really cool. Anyway, that's
nice.
Newsweek. I can't wait. I would love this
feel
one
like
to be in Newsweek.
You just manifested a Newsweek op-ed.
That's what I'm trying to do. We're manifesting op-eds in Newsweek. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everyone in the chat, and everyone in between, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
We just did a 3-hour all beings considered, and I really like this format, Crystal. I don't know how you feel about it, but we need a better theme song.
Yeah, we got a lot done today. I feel like it's not just talk. It's about educating the public. It's about getting you guys to sign on to things and get active and share. So share this content, share it with your veterinarian, and draft your own op-ed. We'll meet you here next week, same time, and come to FOIA Friday at 4:00 p.m. Pacific time, where we'll draft some FOIA requests, get some more work done.
We'll go through FOIA. I like FOIA Friday. It's kind of fun. Any reason why, Neil Thompson asked, any reason why we wouldn't submit to all those media outlets to Overtime or other? We can't really. A lot of them don't like simultaneous submissions. If they find out, you're kind of persona non grata after that. Yeah. But also, you have to be a little strategic, because some require they'll get back to you in 2 business days. Some will get back to you in 5 business days. Some won't get back to you for 14 days. So if you have something
I've learned to bump them or in your little blurb emails, before your submission, because you basically copy paste the text into the email box. But right before it, I usually put a blurb, and I say, I hope you consider this piece in light of the recent news around avian influenza and the cost of eggs. Given the timely nature of this piece, please let us know as soon as possible if you wish to pass on it. But happy to work with you to make it fit. And that way they know you can edit it, but this is a timely thing, and so hopefully they'll either accept or reject it very quickly or let you know, so that you could pitch it to other outlets.
Pitch to somebody else. So. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll put that in this one. Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much. It's been an awesome time hanging out with you all. Let's do the, no, this isn't it. Let's do
too fast, and it's just not giving it's not a catchy tune.
It's just
It
a
needs
first
to be
draft.
catchy, like just a couple, like 3 or 4 notes that are like will get in your head, and this is too many notes. It's just too fast, and it's not.
Yeah, I
something
wanted to be
memorable.
sparser piano. This was not very sparse. It sounds a little too symphonic or something, even though it's. In fact, there's 2 pianos going there, I think. I don't know. Anyway, too much. You're right. Well, this is all beings considered, everybody.
Yeah.
This part's pretty good. The rise here, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's just a little too.
Yeah, it's a bit much. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Please go to sign our letter at savepluto.org. Fight the fireworks.